And now, from the bowels of the internet, it's the Hate Bit Podcast.
Oh shit, I forgot what I wanted to say. It's a cover.
I thought I was like, wait a minute, or one of us. Like,
I was gonna say something cool, and then like it started sounding like Pantera lyrics. I'm like, I can't spit Pantera lyrics.
Reporting
You're
live.
the worst promo cutter ever.
Reporting live from the Nintendo Massacre.
No kidding, right? Okay. Coming to you live from the Hate Bit Studios. We are the Hate Bit Podcast, coming to your town with all guns blazing. I am the mighty Yell Chaos, and welcome to the third annual Hate Bit Podcast E3 Damage Report. Without further ado, let me introduce my cohorts. Right next to me, the astoundingly quiet on the E3 matter, Alpha Omegason.
I am not the father.
Very good. And the man who was going to say nothing about E3, and he's here to tell you all about E3, Mr. Razor Fist.
If we have all guns blazing, does that mean I'm twisting the strangle grip won't give no mercy?
That's exactly right. And later on, you'll be the leather rebel, but we won't talk about that on air.
Right.
Now, folks, we'd like to welcome you to the third annual E3 Damage Report. We do one of these every single year, so if you've been around for all three of them, you must be exhausted. So, without further ado, we're going to jump right into this. As you know, well, as of this recording anyway, we're knee-deep in the Electronic Entertainment Expo mitzvah, if you will. And a lot to talk about. Well, not as much as I would like. We'll explain that as we go. Now, I'm going to need someone to step up for me because, like most people, I have a life and I sleep. So I wasn't getting up early in the fucking morning to watch all of Microsoft's presentation. I missed the first half of it. But Alpha Megason, did you catch the first half of the Microsoft presentation?
I didn't actually catch the first half. I caught the second half.
I understand there was something with Call of Duty with some DLC. I heard about that.
Yeah, let's see. I remember Crackdown making a comeback, and I was actually kind of surprised by that because I figured that they just left that motherfucker for dead.
But guys, but Forza. I mean, come on. That's a thing, right?
Yeah,
right?
the Honda.
Well, they did have what the fuck do you call it? That Project Spark that showed off Conquer, and everybody got blue balls. So there's that.
Yeah. Great use of fucking license there, Microsoft.
I don't know.
Yeah. Unfortunately, they're like, Rare, make some games. Just kidding. Just sit there.
Here, work with this fucking camera for a while.
Yeah. Like, can you make more avatars? Just more. I don't know. Do some stuff with commands for the Kinect. There you go. We're done with it.
Make things that look like Banjo-Kazooie.
Really, the only...
there is the Master Chief Collection for Xbox One, which has a shitload of the Halo games.
Yeah, exactly what's going to save the gaming industry. Another high-def collection.
Yeah.
But they'll all be running at 60 frames per second. And I did not just read that off of what I'm looking at right now.
No, of course not. We are well-read individuals here on the Hate Bit Cast.
Because clearly I memorized the 3 conferences worth of stuff and give a fuck.
Yeah.
Deep down inside, I do. And I'm not just sitting here with a shit-eating grin.
Don't get me wrong. I mean, I sat through all of these presentations, and I'm not sure if I have a headache or an aneurysm. But
I do have to say, the only things, and this is why Microsoft's conference for me, it's not full on weak. I think it's weak in the case of Microsoft because I don't think they showed what they needed to show, which was a major exclusive that is coming out before the holiday. I think that's what they need fundamentally. So in that sense, it's weak. I think it's more of a mediocre press conference, and that was mainly because of Scalebound, which looks really cool, and the return of Phantom Dust, which looked kind of badass.
I'm so glad you mentioned that, because that was one of the things that, like, I didn't even believe I was looking at it.
I know, I was
because that game, like, people to this day still don't know it exists.
Yeah, it blew my mind. So that was really, really cool to hear, and, you know, Scalebound, it's fucking Platinum Studios, so what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
Well, granted, that did get me very excited for just a moment, and then they showed me what I could only assume was a Pixar tech demo. That was they didn't tell me anything about the game. I know people got really excited because thankfully we live in the age where you can find out if people are excited about something in less than 4 to 5 seconds.
Uh-huh.
And the Twitter feed, at least what I saw, just lit up. Everyone absolutely just overflowing with joy. Was Scalebound, and I'm like, it's. There was a guy and there was a dragon and.
Well, yeah, I'm getting tired.
I mean, it looked beautiful, but it didn't look like it was going to be a game. It looked like something that a firm that handles computer-generated images would do.
Once again, it was just another year where like CGI pre-rendered trailers just abounded, which tells you one thing and one thing only. That is that most of these games are not coming out for a year at least.
And not only that, but we have people who don't know how to advertise games still at this point and think that dubstep is just the bee's knees.
Yeah, I mean, Sony were better this year with that, but I remember last year at E3, for all the people saying they dominated, I remember just sitting there going like, could we have just a few more pre-rendered CGI trailers of games that are not coming out for 2 more fucking years, please? Like,
yeah, and we need more.
I don't think we've quite filled the tank yet. Like, that was all their press conference was last year. This year they were a little better. They had a couple live demos.
They did, but
Well, that was the thing that I wanted the most out of all of this. I mean, it's easy to get hyped at the idea of a cinematic, trailer for anything. So it's like, oh man, that's something I've been wanting because it'll be a sequel or a prequel or remake to something. But 9 times out of 10, when we're talking about a new IP and we don't know dick about the game or the franchise or maybe even the up and coming developer who's making it, then we need in-game footage, or else we're just left scratching our fucking heads and just move on to the next thing because we can only be so excited.
Well, and if nothing else, you want something that tells you what it is.
Well, yeah, I remember one of the best examples of that I think one of the reasons Assassin's Creed is so popular now is because of that brilliant demo they did at E3 2006 where they just all they did was play through the game for like 5 minutes live on stage. And I think it was either at the PS3 or Xbox press conference that Jade Raymond and what's-his-face did the whole walkthrough thing. And it was brilliant because it told you everything you needed to know. You're an assassin, you can ride horses, it's open world, there were physics, you could do the parkour stuff, and you could climb on any architecture that stuck out more than X number of inches, and blah, blah, blah. It was like it did the business. That's why Assassin's Creed 1 did so much better than many of the later games in the series, I think. It's because they advertised it so well just by running that incredible demo live. That's what I'd like to see more of, and we have seen so little of that the last like 5 years. It's
for some reason, they're just more content with being like, all right, we're going to blow your balls off with a movie-like trailer. And that doesn't ever impress me nearly as much as watching a game and an individual actually being engrossed into a said area that you're going through in the demo.
Yeah.
Because then I'm like, wow, that's what I'll be doing. Instead, I watch a trailer which is not going to depict how you play the game and interact with the characters and even a lot of times what the hell the story is about. So you just come away with nothing. I don't know. It just that's one of the things that's been bugging the shit out of me. That was like, I'd said on fucking Twitter, it was just like, CG trailer 2014 E3 edition. It's like, and it's accurate.
Well, speaking of things bugging the shit out of you, though, did I cut you off, Alpha Omega Sin?
Oh,
okay,
no.
Because Razorfist said, well, we haven't seen so much of things regarding, because he was making the case for Assassin's Creed, and it's interesting you say that because we've seen so much goddamn Assassin's Creed over the last 5 or 6 years.
Yeah, no kidding.
And speaking of which,
lost time.
What was that?
I said, boy, they made up for lost time, didn't they?
If that's what you want to call it, because they introduced to us Assassin's Creed Unity, which Colin Moriarty wouldn't shut the fuck up about. I'm one of those unfortunate fucks that got stuck with the IGN stream because I couldn't find anything else stable. And Colin Moriarty's getting a jackknife powerbomb, if I didn't tell you that already. Not today, not tomorrow, but soon. And just went on and on about Assassin's Creed, and now Assassin's Creed Unity, I understand, set in the French Revolution, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it looks... It's Les Mis, the game. Let's be real. That's
well,
what it
okay.
is.
So when they move it to Ireland, it'll be Fiddler on. Is that okay? I just want to make sure that I understand this.
Yeah, and in a few years, I have no doubt, actually, in my mind. This just popped into my head, and suddenly I realized Ubisoft one day will do this. There's totally gonna be like a Braveheart Assassin's Creed. There's totally gonna be a fucking
Oh yeah,
medieval Scottish rebellion thing going on. I know that's gonna happen.
absolutely.
Oh, one thing I actually want to bounce back to, just because I had started remembering some of the stuff, the Scalebound game that Razorfist brought up that's being done by Platinum Studios.
Mm.
That game, like, I was watching it, and I think it looks really awesome, because one of the things that I was looking at, and I don't know if I was reading too much into the trailer, because, again, we had another CG fucking trailer, but after, like, it looks like a Monster Hunter type game. You're fucking up big gigantic dragons and all sorts of other shit like that, but then all of a sudden a much bigger Hydra appears off in a distance, and then you and all the stuff that you were fighting, like these big ass monsters, you just kind of go together and chase after that. And it made me wonder if you can actually like start recruiting these things. Like you can take over a dragon, start flying around, and like
it looked like you could recruit dragons and shit and like train dragons and whatnot. And
if I get an entire team of dragons, that'll be awesome. But if I have to be like a headphone wearing yokel like that motherfucker in there, I will cut my own goddamn fucking head off and go in with just like a spine sticking out.
That was one of the things we learned at this year's E3, folks. I said it on Twitter. I'll say it again. Friggin', apparently people look even more like apparently people in VR headsets look even more like assholes when they have like a wand or a controller in their hand. Like that was basically the theme of this year's E3. There was so much VR nonsense. And most of it was peripheral. Most of it wasn't in the actual press conferences themselves, although Sony did touch on it a little bit. But, oh my god, like, chill it with the VR, guys. Like, we get it. Oculus was bought by Facebook. Fucking chill. Seriously.
Well, they had to bring out... Well, here's a question, because it did happen, the Microsoft conference. What about the new Tomb Raider, Rise of Tomb Raider? Thoughts, feelings?
I didn't see that one.
Yeah,
really?
I did. I don't know. It did look like it did look like maybe they'll dial back the QuickTime events.
I'm hoping to fucking god that they do.
Yeah, I don't know.
The main thing that all I want from it, because I was actually a pretty big fan of the reboot or whatever fuck you really want to call it, because they've had several technically. I actually like this one quite a bit. All I want them to do is give me more tombs to fucking raid. And that shouldn't... And it's like, it's in the goddamn title. She's Lara goddamn Croft. Give me some tombs to raid.
Yeah,
because when they did give them to you, it was fun. And when they didn't, I was kind of like, damn, I really wish I had some.
Yeah, exactly. Like, come on, let's do this. It's kind of like... I think they actually have an opportunity, because like with Uncharted 4... being announced and whatnot. Uncharted kind of has gotten away from being Dude Raider. It's more about like criminal drama and it's just a bunch of bullshit. It doesn't. There's not a whole lot of tomb raiding going on in Uncharted, and it kind of started out as it's Tomb Raider with a dick. That's what Uncharted was supposed to be.
Well, yeah, the first Uncharted is Dude Raider.
Yeah.
As soon as they got number 2, they were like, fuck it, we're gonna go for like some Indiana Jones shit.
Yeah.
And they made set pieces more like an action movie, which I'm fine with, because I know a lot of people are like, that shit's overrated, but I thoroughly enjoyed all of them. I've literally played every single one, and I looked at this one and I felt like this might be their fucking swan song, so that they can get Naughty Dog to actually focus on some other shit, because they got those motherfuckers pulled thin.
Yeah.
Like super thin, and that's because they're a damn talented studio, and I can understand why, but it's... You gotta do what you gotta do, so this might be the last that we see old Nate Drake until Sony needs some money.
That's my thing. I don't think it's the last we'll see of it. I think it's going to be a Halo situation where it's like, yeah, Halo 3's the last one until we need more dollars.
Yeah. They're like, those other franchises, they didn't pan out quite as well. So, Drake's Return, Uncharted 5. All right.
I am not fooling myself into thinking Uncharted. They won't retire Uncharted until Uncharted starts selling as poorly as, frankly, I think it should have, given the last game. Last fucking game was a turd.
What a yardstick he's got right there.
I know, right? Well, that's what they tell me.
Hey! But, you know.
Oh, there's one thing. I haven't actually gone to see footage of it, but did you guys see anything about that? I don't even know how to pronounce it, so bear with me. But was it Ori and the Blind Forest? I've just seen screenshots of it.
I didn't see that one either.
Yeah.
I was looking at it, and
that was probably when I was toasting my Pop-Tarts.
Basically, what it says right here is, it's a 2D. It's supposed to be like a 2D game and stuff. But I was looking at it. It's made by Moon Studios. I was looking at it, I'm like, damn, actually, it looks really, really nice. And that Studio Ghibli, or I always fuck up the name of that, but they said that the animation is a lot like that, which I definitely dig that because I like Princess Mononoke and all the other fucking movies that they do. So I was like, and I just haven't had time to look it up.
That didn't seem to help Ni no Kuni very much.
No, it didn't, but admittedly it did better. That Ni no Kuni actually did better than a lot of the other fucking JRPGs.
Imagine how it would have sold if it hadn't.
That's true. That's
no offense to Level 5, that was a masterful game. Just the sound was put together by, a deaf man.
Yeah. So, and apart from that, all I got really from the Microsoft conference was, they did whore the division thing from Ubisoft, and then Crackdown was the return of Crackdown, which I don't know why you would. I guess because Halo 5's coming out, they got to have something to package the beta with. That's my thought.
No. I'm laughing because it's funny, and then I'm laughing because you're 100% fucking right. So yeah.
And you're laughing you're laughing to dull the pain because you're dying inside.
Oh no, I've been dead inside. I'm nothing but a fucking carcass. So
well then
it's pretty much the way it is. And the thing is, like, watching it, I was looking at like the Crackdown trailer, and I liked the first one. I never played the second one. I know a lot of people that have played it, but I'm looking at it, and it just seemed like from the trailer that this is going to be something that they're like, one-player mode? Suck a fat one! This is multiplayer, online only! And I noticed that seems to be a big thing with a lot of trailers, is that it starts off with being one person, and then you realize there's an entire fucking team of people, and that seems to be their focus, and that sucks for somebody like me that's antisocial with my video gaming, unless I'm hanging out in person.
Yeah. Yeah, the only thing I really play online nowadays is fighting games. I don't really fuck around with much else. I don't know. I think the online thing with how, what verbiage should I use? Discognizant. Let's throw that word.
Do that one. That's a good one.
With how butt fucking retarded the people online are, I've just kind of soured on the whole online gaming thing. For the most part.
Thank you.
Back in the day, I'd be all right with, like, because I'm not a big Halo guy at all. But if a friend of mine was like, hey, let's do team deathmatch, I'd be like, whatever, let's do it for 20 minutes, and then I can go do something meaningful with my life. And I didn't hate it, you know what I mean? But now it's like, I don't know, the community has seemed to have gotten more acrimonious. And not in a good way, like my show. But
I like your own self-inputted sidestep. Like, yeah, gotta get out of the way of my own
how
shit.
did you sidestep yourself? That was quite impressive.
Yeah, that was actually kind of impressive. That should be a finishing move.
Hey,
have you been hanging out with Hogan?
It'll have better finishing moves than Mortal Kombat 10. Oh! Anyway, so yeah, let's continue.
Hey, that shit looked fucking awesome. Dude, no, fuck that. We're gonna cut straight to Mortal Kombat.
Whoa, hey, we got a lot to do here. Settle yourself.
That shit could just be in its own category. Like, who was bringing out? Warner Brothers. What else did they even show?
Nothing.
See, there you go. So it can be its own fucking thing.
Okay, fine. I'm writing it right down here. I'll write it down so we don't forget. Mortal Kombat Yawn X.
All right.
talk about that.
Besides the fact that the X definitely made me think of a Mountain Dew commercial, but I understand it's the 10th Mortal Kombat, but you can't help but to think, like, oh my god, super extreme dubstep
Dude,
and bike
it's
tricks and stuff.
extreme. It makes me want to sit in khakis and drink Mountain
Heineken
Dew.
visors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes me want to
And you
wear
have
my
to have
hat
frosted
sideways.
tips for some reason. They're like, I was looking at it, and somebody had said it in the comments of I forgot what fucking webpage I was on when I was looking at the trailer for it, but I was looking at it, and the person was 100% right. That you can actually see where they put all the resources from Next Generation, and that was to the internal guts of each individual character. Because all they did was get way more graphic and detailed with the stuff, and that's all I wanted. I think that I'm so starved as a slasher fan of horror movies that this is what I need in one as actual sustenance as a human being. I need this kind of shit, and it looked cool. Plus, they had new characters, so new characters.
Somebody better be getting boiled in acid. That's all I fucking know.
Well, fucking Sub-Zero threw
speaking
his
of
ice
freaking-
clone at Scorpion and fucked his face up. That was cool.
That was kind of cool. That was kind of cool. Look, I don't think it's going to be bad. I enjoyed Mortal Kombat 9, but I do think them spotlighting even more X-ray attacks, which the X-ray attacks were just a dumb, broken. They were just another fighting game trope, like modern fighting game trope. Because now, back in the day, if you were playing a fighting game against someone and you were getting your ass kicked, well, gosh, maybe you should get better so you can fight back. Or maybe you should stick in the fight and keep fighting until you actually fall down and die, because that's kind of the point of a fighting game. But now it's like, nope, don't want to alienate anyone. So by pushing 2 buttons, you can do an X-ray attack that takes like a quarter, if not more, of their health. It takes more if the more hurt you are. And
yeah, I was gonna say, and it sucks because that bar builds up when you're getting the living shit stomped out of you.
And that's what pisses me off about that and the ultra combo from Street Fighter 4. It's like, so wait a minute, you're gonna reward me for playing like shit. Got it, cool, makes sense. So the most powerful attack in the game, I can only earn by getting the shit kicked out of me. Makes sense.
Oh no, you can earn it doing well. You just earn it 1/3 of the amount than you are dishing it out.
Yeah, well, and at least that makes more sense than Street Fighter 4, where it's like, hey, super combos are 1,000 times weaker than ultra combos, so I'm really going to go out of my way to try and earn that super combo that does absolutely nothing by playing well. Like, no, you're going to get the shit kicked out of you. People literally game the system in tournaments and shit just so they can earn ultra combos, which are broken, Like,
well, here, let me ask you, since I know that you're actually like a fighting game fan and stuff, what did you think of the 2 new characters that they showed off?
I thought that was actually pretty fucking cool. Look, nothing looked bad about it. The only thing that I didn't like, especially about Mortal Kombat 10, was the fact that Sony, at the end of the day, it felt throughout the entire press conference. Sorry, we're kind of skipping ahead to Sony, but it felt throughout the whole press conference. I was wanting for Sony to announce a big exclusive that was going to come out before holiday, because that's kind of what they need right now, because their system just doesn't have any games. And instead, I got a bunch of fucking multiplats. And it was like, we had already seen a bunch of multiplats. We had already talked about the TV. We had already talked about all the BS that nobody wants to watch. And it was like, okay, now it's time for the exclusives. And the first thing they show is Mortal Kombat 10, and it's not an exclusive. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, I like Mortal Kombat 10, but this is going to be on Xbox One, too. Like, what are you doing?
Well, that was the thing that was kind of odd about both conferences. Like, when Microsoft opened up and a lot of their slots were filled in with, multi-platform titles, but it's like, well, we get this exclusively for X amount of time, or we get said downloadable content for a certain amount of time, or we get said multiplayer options, da-da-da-da-da. And Sony, same exact fucking thing. And that's the other thing that was like really bugged me. And I know that this has happened the past couple E3s. This isn't something new, so somebody could fucking remind me of that. No shit. But it's not something that should fucking continue.
No.
And it just does, and it's redundant. It's like, if you want to show off the game, fucking cool and stuff, but it's just, it takes up so much goddamn time when you could have just told me something that I'm only going to find through you. literally just you.
Yeah. And that's the problem. I mean, fundamentally, when a system comes out, the formula that I think works personally, just my personal opinion, looking at the successful systems of the past, is you come out with the rockin' exclusives to begin with. The first couple years of the system's life cycle have to be like characterized by really good exclusives. You look at any system that's succeeded long term, and that's the case. You look at the Super Nintendo, bam, Super Mario World, bam, within a couple years of that system's launch, you had all these incredible exclusives, and then you go to work on the multiplats, right? I think that was one of the problems the Wii U ran into early on, was they kind of got it in reverse. They wanted to focus more on third parties to begin with, but you kind of can only keep the third parties if your first party titles are really strong to begin with.
Well, don't forget, that was amid all that bullshit about how they can't sell anything because they can't compete against Nintendo games.
Yeah, and it just...
Well, that's something we should actually say for when we get to Nintendo.
Well, I want to bring that up around the Sony conference. Let's try. Can we track back to the Microsoft conference? Wrap it up really quickly. I want to say. Yeah. I want to say what.
Actually, well, I was gonna say, what else do you guys want to get to?
I want to say what everybody is thinking right now. All the folks writing their comments down below, thumbing this motherfucker down. You know, the classy people. They're yelling at Razorfist right now, and they're saying, "Goddamn Razorfist, you got yourself an exclusive. If you had that Xbox One, you'd get that Master Chief exclusive collection right there on your Xbox One, and you don't know what you're talking about."
Once again, the only stuff that really, and I'm not even sure if that's an exclusive or not, was the Platinum Studios announcement, the Scalebound, and the other. What the hell am I thinking of here?
Scalebound is definitely exclusive, and Crackdown's exclusive.
Well, and we know Crackdown is, but let's be real, it's Crackdown. Come on.
Yeah.
There's already a crack and a down.
Oh, and then we also got Phantom Dust, so that's
Phantom Dust was the one I was thinking of. Sorry, thank you. And Phantom Dust, those were the only two that I kind of said, and I think they're exclusive. If that's the case, that's pretty good, but they kind of needed I think they needed a bigger franchise, like on par with, not necessarily on par with like a Halo, but bigger than Crackdown, guys. I think that was the fundamental problem. You needed something big there, even if it was something like a Conker's Bad Fur Day 2 or something, like just something that would be big enough and have enough name recognition that it was gonna. Because this had to be a pivotal conference for Microsoft, and I don't think they pulled it off. I really don't think they did. I think they had kind of a middling conference with a couple big announcements, but it really didn't do what it needed to do, which is.
For my money, it really resonated with me in that it seemed to be executed in a very nonchalant fashion. And this was a theme throughout day one or day zero of E3, was that a lot of presenters presented not only with their impenetrable accents.
Yeah, were Sony paying their presenters by the accent?
No, I think they were just hiring wine stewards from around the world. That's what I think.
What was going on? It was like, okay, and now this impenetrably thick Japanese accent has left the stage. Here, let's have an impenetrably thick Australian accent.
Shuhei Yoshida's pouring champagne on bitches, right? But anyway, but there was a theme. It was almost as if, and we'll get to the rest of the show in just a minute, there was a theme, though. It seemed like a lot of the presenters acted as though they had nothing to prove. Like they had this thing in their pocket. And that's the thing to do when you're, high on the hog, and that's not what we're dealing with here. This was going to be a last gasp for air for some people.
Yeah, I definitely got that vibe from Sony a little bit. I did my little pre-E3 video.
I saw.
I was talking about how the one thing Sony need to be careful of is not to get cocky. They need to treat this as if it's serious, because Sony's not doing well. And if the PlayStation 4 doesn't continue doing well, they're going to have even less chance of turning their business around. So this is they need to be treating this like they're not in first place. They needed to be treating this like they were in third or second, because it's kind of a situation where if they don't have many games for the next year, those dominant sales of the PS4, which have already started to fall off in the last couple months, are going to continue falling off because people have less reason to buy a PS4 than they did before. It's just going to continue to slow, and before you know it, the success story that is the PS4 becomes a fucking cautionary tale, kind of like what happened with the Wii, unfortunately. So you have to be really careful of that, and I don't think Sony were. I think there was a bit of ego involved, and I definitely got the ego vibe from Microsoft, and I have to ask, where in the fuck was that coming from after the last couple of years? Like, really? What are you, after last year's press conference, you're going to walk into E3 with an ego, Microsoft? Seriously?
Oh, yeah, they were walking around, grabbing their dicks, playing dubstep music. They were grabbing their dicks like it was 2009.
Both of these companies have to go in with that kind of look, though, because if they look like beaten dogs, then it's kind of just admitting, to everybody
Nobody's
what's
asking
up.
them, though, to look like freaking war orphans from Central America. But we are asking them to be a little bit more, maybe a little bit more matter of fact.
A little more humble.
Yeah. Or just kind of a... it's a difficult quality to describe, but there have been past press conferences. I think Sony at E3 last year is a good example.
Well, how about a company that acts like they want money?
Yeah, where Sony kind of came in and they weren't throwing their weight around a whole bunch. They kind of had been humbled the last several years, getting their asses kicked, and it was like, okay, we kind of know what we need to do. Not too much pomp, not too much pageantry. Let's just come in, show the games, show the system, tell the price point, and do this. And I didn't get that from any company but Nintendo this year at all.
But don't forget, last year, Sony's position was a bit different because what they did was they stood off to the side while Big Van Vader did the moonsault to nowhere. And then when Microsoft was down, they came in and scored a pin, at the 11th hour.
It's true. They were in a very comfortable position.
Yeah, they sat back, and when they fucking shit their pants, they came in with the bionic elbow, and that was fucking it. There was no getting up. There was nothing.
No, I said it before. I'll say it again. It was a Microsoft suicide, not a Sony homicide.
Absolutely, and but not according to Mr. Moriarty and all them other fucks with their pastel shirts.
But definitively, my verdict for Microsoft is just kind of mediocre, and mediocre is weak for them this year because they needed to not be mediocre this year.
They needed to knock this one out of the park, and I don't see that. But I do want to share something that happened on the El Chaos Facebook page. One of my followers, Jonathan De Rossier, I had to exchange words, and I said, well, at least this was early in the day. I expressed my feelings that Microsoft did better this year than they did last year. And Jonathan said, what did Jonathan say? He said, that's not really hard to try for that. They could have went on stage, farted, and left and done better than they've done in previous years. And I'm willing to go along with that. And really, I mean, it could have been better. Don Matrick could have come on stage, farted, and at least it would have been worth a laugh as opposed to the confusion.
Well,
anyway.
people would have wondered what he was doing on stage, considering it works for Zynga now.
Well, they're like, you're back from Poverty Row already? Speaking of lacking a presence at the Entertainment Expo.
Shouldn't you be picking out a new refrigerator box? Isn't that...
Yeah, something to hang your suits in. Anyway, let's move on down the line now chronologically. I want to really quick talk about, not that there was really anything to talk about, but the fine folks over at Electronic Arts had a bit of a showing. And from what I could wrangle, is they had FIFA, they had Madden, and then everything else Christmas of 2015. And
that was kind of a running theme.
It kind of. I mean, hey, if you're gonna have a theme, at least it's kind of like a masquerade party. At least everyone stuck to the theme. At the very least, that's what you could take from it. Even The Sims 4, I don't think will be, was for some reason a keynote thing. And I know that there are fans of The Sims out there. There's there's one, and there's one right there. Well, that's all of them, but still, And The Sims 4 was they basically sold it to me like it's The Sims again with old ladies and fat girls and douchebags with soul patches. Yep. And IGN of course went on, and all the other news outlets talking about how it's just a great thing. I'm like, yeah, a great thing if this were 2007, but it isn't.
Yeah, I literally don't remember the last time I honestly saw anybody say, I'm getting The Sims. I'm playing The Sims. Hey, remember The Sims? Do not remember.
Well, when's the last time anyone said that EA did great at E3?
Well, Sims 3 was kind of for some people, was kind of a disappointment, especially as a follow-up to Sims 2, which a lot of people really liked.
Really?
So I can understand that. I think the series lost a little bit of momentum with 3. It wasn't quite as good as 2. But, like, look,
the Sim
I
name has been tarnished,
I've
too.
enjoyed, here's a third person who likes The Sims. I have always enjoyed The Sims. I've always thought it was kind of fun. It's one of those games that, like, if you're not really in the mood for games, you can just turn on and start fucking with.
For me, it's a game that if you've seen all the other sitcoms, you just make your own.
Kind of. Plus, it's just fun to board people up in a room with no doors.
Well, I say, yeah, it's kind of like a people Digimon. Just watch someone else starve to death.
Dude, that's the exact thing I was gonna say. Like, I just like locking them somewhere they can't get out, and they piss and shit themselves to death.
Or,
like, yeah.
or you leave them in the swimming pool and don't put a ladder in, so they can't leave.
Oh, and then they don't drown; they just die of exhaustion.
Yes.
Well, it's good because sometimes when you're doing that and you're laughing at their dismay, and then somebody comes and robs them additionally, and you're like, it's bad news on top
I just
of
like to
bad
say
news.
that the opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of 8-Bit Entertainment Incorporated. Don't try this at home.
I'm here to tell you that's a lie.
Yeah.
Damn you.
Yeah.
Okay, all opinions
but-
expressed.
But Razorfish, you said something about Dragon Age.
Yeah, Dragon Age is basically a third-person shooter now, which is great. And I think that's gonna work out well for him. Let's see. They're already doing the open world thing, which BioWare have never done successfully before in their lives. So they already have that uphill battle. And now they're gonna add another one, basically. It's, oh god, like as if Dragon Age 2 wasn't already easily confused with being Mass Effect with swords. We're seriously going to go this route with Dragon Age 2. It just, with Dragon Age 3, rather. I don't understand how anyone can be excited for Dragon Age 3, especially after 2. Frankly, they have some salesmanship to do at this point that they have not done. And with The Witcher 3 coming out, which people are looking at this thing and their jaws are on the fucking floor with Witcher 3. There's no way. Dragon Age 3 is SOL. There's no question. They're fucked. I mean, they completely shit the bed at this presentation with EA as far as Dragon Age 3 is concerned anyways. But in the interest of full disclosure, apart from Dragon Age 3, I pretty much walked around and did chores and shit while the EA press conference was going. I really didn't see much reason to stick around.
I actually was playing New Super Mario Brothers.
And you probably weren't missing much.
I was having so much fun. I don't know if they heard of fun.
I'm going to go out on a
know
limb. I'm going to go on the record and say I don't believe EA or Ubisoft should have press conferences at E3. I think the industry is at a point now where they're only releasing big AAA games once every 2-3 years. So what are you showing us at E3? Like, I don't think you have enough material, frankly, to fill all of that time anymore. I think it was one thing back in 2007 when EA were cranking out shitloads of games, but now it's like they might have 3 releases in a year. That's not enough to fill an E3 press conference with.
That's definitely not enough to float a multi-million-dollar corporation.
Yeah, and it really came into sharp focus with Ubisoft this year. They had nothing to show. It blew my mind. They were like, hey, look, Rainbow Six is still shitty.
Well,
so
don't say nothing. Don't say nothing. Don't forget they had a whole lot of Aisha Tyler with fuck and piss and shit and goddamn it and making weed references and calling people bitch. And then now here's Just Dance 2015.
Yes.
Hey, families, fucking piss and shit and and it's coming from a 7-foot-tall black broad. Isn't she witty and black and tall? Ooh. But yeah, let's talk about Ubisoft for a second. Ubisoft, now they're cool people. They don't want to stray from a theme. They put everything way the fuck at Christmas in 2015 as well.
Of course.
And what they had for us, Just Dance. They had for us, again, Assassin's Creed. A lot of crossover this E3. Not only did the presenters not have enough to talk about, there was crossover in between a lot of these presentations. And once again, I'm not impressed by Assassin's Creed. Assassin's Creed to me has always been slow Prince of Persia.
It had the potential in the beginning to be, if they had, basically, They had two ways to go with Assassin's Creed. It's an assassination game where you do a bunch of parkour shit. And basically they had two choices. They could either progress gameplay-wise in the assassination vein and learn how to make a really cool like assassination simulation, kind of like Hitman or something like that, and really like flesh that out, or they could just make it a big parkour game. And guess which direction they went in? You know what I mean? Like it's a game all about running on rooftops now.
I was going to say, I'm pretty sure that recently they just went into the, let's get a whole bunch of assassins and make a brotherhood. Because, assassins always run around together.
Thanks for that, Assassin's Creed 2. Now it's all about freaking tower defense and shit, and freaking managing your assassin army and all this garbage. Like,
it sounds to me like they just want to make a Robocop game.
Well, if they make a Robocop game, I want it to be, I want to eventually make my way to a WCW arena, and I want to save Sting. And so if they don't have that, it's not real.
Tear the door off the cage and save Sting.
Yeah. Well, and by the way, I'm just going to inject this here. Do you guys remember a Sprite commercial that was starring Sting, and he beat the shit out of a little kid?
No.
Okay. I'd remembered it vaguely, and just recently, I just typed it in for the fuck of it. I'll send it to you guys after this. Everybody else who's listening, you can look this shit up.
Wait, link it down there for them. Give them a link so they can see this. Why the fuck not?
Yeah, Sting literally, like, this kid answers the door, and it's Sting, like WCW Crow-era Sting. And he's like, oh my god, it's Sting! And he's like, you ready to wrestle? And he's like, yeah! And then Sting starts smashing
beats his ass around his own kitchen?
Yeah, he throws him into a china cabinet, glass goes everywhere, he fucking throws him through a bunch of shit, smacks his head off, man. It is fucking hilarious. That would also be in the Robocop game, because once you save Sting, he goes after some little kid who's, like, evil or something. It's like Damien or some shit. Yeah. And that's what I want my Robocop game to be.
I'll throw this one thing out there for Ubisoft this year. I am kind of intrigued that there's finally going to be, instead of all the World War II and all the modern warfare games and all the, there's even Vietnam games, there's finally going to be a game about World War I, which is kind of
whoa
with Valiant Hearts. So that's gonna be an interesting one to look at.
Well, I don't know. I'll never find out because the motherfucker's not coming to Wii U.
Probably not.
And the funny thing is, and I want to stress this, right after I found this out, Ubisoft comes out right after their conference and says that they've been sitting on a Wii U game for almost like half a year, and they're waiting for more Wii units to be sold before they'll consider releasing it. It's like, well, that's, no matter how you look at it, loss is loss, and something sitting on a shelf is nothing but loss. I wish I had that kind of money to just make something and let it fucking sit there.
Well, let's be real. What did he do? He held a game hostage.
That's exactly what it is, yeah.
He's holding a game hostage from Wii U owners, which I don't think there's going to be any problem selling plenty of Wii U's after this year's E3, personally. But
well, don't get ahead of
it. Man, I don't think it's going to be hard to sell Wii U's after Mario Kart.
It hasn't been.
Once that shit dropped, everybody was like, oh!
Yeah, there's a wave going on beneath us, and, Mario Kart is carrying the industry right now, as of this recording.
As of this, but Ubisoft, the thing that they had going for me, fucking Far Cry.
Yeah.
That was all I gave a shit about from their presentation. I was like, give me Far Cry.
Yeah, but come on. It should be Blood Dragon 2.
I said, I said that same exact fucking thing, and I actually got told, well, Blood Dragon wasn't that good. I about fucking rocket punched him in the fucking eye. I was like, listen, Cockstain, I don't know where the fuck you even get off telling me that Blood Dragon wasn't that great. To begin with, it's one of the best first-person shooters ever. And if somebody's like, that's bold word, shut the fuck up. I don't even know how you comprehended what I said, because you apparently don't know dick about the English language. Blood Dragon is amazing. And the thing is, they said that they wanted to go and make that its own individual franchise, and they should.
Yeah.
Because the fact is that it's so different from the regular Far Cry games, it warrants it. It's got its own style, it's got its own graphical presentation, it's got its own music, it's its own thing, and Far Cry is its own thing, and I like both. And I'm just hoping that with Far Cry 4, eventually they're like, Blood Dragon 2. And it's really sad that's how I want it to go, but, you know.
Oh, that's
gotta
gonna
start
happen.
somewhere.
And again, I think it's bullshit because I think Blood Dragon should not be encumbered by the Far Cry brand, frankly, because it's just better. I'm sorry, it's better than Blood Dragon was better than Far Cry 3, and this game, whatever Blood Dragon 2 is probably going to be better than Far Cry 4. So it's like, why don't you just let it be its own thing? Because then you could explore different things. Like, I would love for the next Blood Dragon to take place in like an 80s city, you know, or like a friggin' or be like a buddy cop kind of an action film parody.
Would it be a new Detroit?
And be like a multiplayer type of a like co-op type thing. I mean, you can do so much.
The first things that came to mind just thinking about it, as soon as you said city, I imagine combining it with the first Terminator movie and They Live.
Yeah, no, that would be brilliant.
Oh wait, so is there going to be a big overdrawn fist fight in the middle?
And with
goddamn straight.
And throw in Death Wish 3
and sunglasses.
Dude, oh yeah. The thing is, like, the idea of all that shit is one, the 80s is where it's at, always will be. Fuck what everybody else thinks, but Blood Dragon should have its own fucking franchise. But I played Far Cry 2. I liked it a lot. I actually wasn't a big fan of the first Far Cry. I didn't give a fuck about it. I thought it was generic and boring, and people loved it, but I was like, whatever. Far Cry 2, I gave a chance just in passing. I was like, that's not bad. Far Cry 3, infinitely better. And they actually had a half-decent story. And that's what I was surprised by. I was like, damn. And it wasn't so much it was only, like, one character that was really good in it, but he kind of, like, held it together. And that was, like, the main bad guy. Like, the main character that you play as is so fucking forgettable and one-dimensional. Like, there's no point to him. Oh, yeah. He should just be silent. But this, and it seems like they're going to go with that theme again, is have, like, over-the-top, you know, villainry. And that's all fine with me, because that's what I like.
Yeah, I mean, it works all right. It's just fucking, I can't believe it's not Nathan Drake needs to go the fuck away. Jesus Christ. Like, even if you're gonna have him be completely generic, can we at least just make him like ethnic or something, like some kind of distinguishing characteristic?
Well, yeah, he's Canadian.
I would
make him like a black dude. Like, just make him a black dude.
I say what they do is they make him a self-aware generic guy.
Yeah.
And I'd be so much happier, because then I might actually like him. And it's just like, you know, I really am just like all those other white, brown-haired guys.
It's like, if you sat still for long enough, if he started combing his hair forward, you know? Or like, he was like, I wonder if khaki cargo pants are on sale at the Gap. I wonder if... Fucking, that would be brilliant. I would love that.
Yeah, that's what you've always wanted. You've always wanted a video game protagonist who looks like they work at Target.
Exactly.
It makes me so sad, because the main character from Condemned definitely falls into that category. And by the way, if they would have announced, like, Condemned 3, I'd have shot a load definitely through, like... there's, like, 4 houses all connected up where I live, but it would go through all of them. Yep. And into the hillside. And I would have impregnated a tree.
So you've been working on your kegels, haven't you?
Fucking right.
The real news we learned during the Far Cry presentation, especially the one during the Sony conference, was that apparently elephants are impervious to explosions. Apparently. They can flip a Jeep up in the air and explode the motherfucker and still just stand there like, what, bitch? I'm an elephant.
There you go.
The thing is, elephants are pretty badass, and especially if it's a woolly mammoth, because if anybody saw, like, the newest episode of Game of Thrones, you know how badass a woolly mammoth is.
And I'm not sure what I was looking at. Like, we're in the mountains, and yet there's elephants, so I kind of assumed that it was a jungle, but it's kind of a forest, kind of, maybe, sort of. I don't know what was going on.
Yeah, those are
They're importing the shit now. They're just, like, bringing it in by helicopter, fuck it, drop it in. It's going to confuse people, but that's what we like.
Fucking next game's going to take place in, like, Mall of America, and there'll be tigers.
Dude, I would love that. I would. Can you imagine, like, a shooting scene on one of the big-ass roller coasters in the mall?
Yes.
Like, that would be so cool. You have to, like, climb over top of them. Now it's making me think of that one episode of Batman the Animated Series where the Joker kidnaps the mayor.
Lex Luger walks in, you know.
Yeah, wait, did you say Lex Luger?
Lex Luger.
The fucking narcissist comes in with all of his mirrors and starts doing poses.
And his feathery booty shorts.
And then everybody realizes you're not nearly as good as Rick Rude, and you're bland as shit, and they ignore him forever.
There you go, exactly. One thing I want to say about what was interesting so far about E3 was the lack of the mentioning of the concept and terminology of innovation. Less of bullshit masquerading as innovation was forced in my face. Yet, Ubisoft, who seem to think that they're always just well ahead of the curve and you just don't understand them, they're kind of like the mastodon of video games.
Oh, or the trivium of video games.
Oh, we could do that too. God, because Captain and Tennille's more fascinating. But anyway, Ubisoft got to tell us about these new ideas and things you've never seen before, and then they showed us Shape Up. They gave us Wii Fit Cross Dance Dance Revolution, and expected me to believe that this was brand new and had never been done before.
Of course not. What are we talking about? Come on, dancing games? This has not been done since 1990.
Yeah, exactly. Well, the whole thing about how, it's like, you know how getting in shape is boring. Well, we're going to make it fun. That's never been done before, right? Yeah.
Yeah, you and Richard Simmons.
Yeah, I was going to say, I said, I know somebody who would want to talk to you about sweating to the oldies, but...
Yeah, now let's all sit on the stage and shave our legs and cry. Let's do that.
And use our volumizer. Big time on the volume.
And have David Letterman pick on us.
That's true.
Aww.
I always felt bad when he went on David Letterman's show because he always looked like he was going to cry.
About 65% of our audience has no fucking idea what we're talking about.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I know. Well, if you don't know what we're talking
and gay
about,
dudes.
Yeah.
now, next we're going to talk about Paul Lynde and then Charles Nelson Riley. But anyway,
stay tuned for our breakdown of last week's Lawrence Welk show.
Speaking of Charles Nelson Riley and people walking with a swagger, Sony came right out and they had a whole bunch of stuff that they didn't seem to want to talk about.
Yeah.
That's because most of the stuff that Sony and Microsoft want to talk about doesn't come out until next year. So it's like they're like, hey, we're going to show you previews this year. Then next year we'll show you gameplay.
Does this not confirm like what I said and what we've been saying for a while now, that both these systems were rushed to launch? Like, because if you hadn't rushed these systems, if you hadn't rushed the Xbox One and PS4, if they had really meant to release these systems when they were released, there would have been some games this year. There just would have been, because they would have been working on them beforehand.
There definitely would have, but the thing is that they got so much fucking pressure from, from so many different angles. Let's see, from fans, from all the people, like all their fucking investors, and you figure people are like, well, I'm so bored. Why don't we have like a new console yet? Because everybody is so fucking self-entitled now they need a new machine after X amount of years goes by, even though theirs is still holding up just fine. But
well, holding up fine, that might be what you mean for the PlayStation. Xbox, on the other hand, holding up.
yeah, I don't know so much.
Yeah, holding up like fucking Chernobyl.
But I mean, the point goes to stand is that they push them out for all the wrong reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, absolutely.
They push them out for a bunch of fucking people who are like, we'll take our money and we'll leave. And they're like, oh shit. And all the fans with the money that they need for the people that have their money invested into them to begin with are like, well, we'll stop spending it on you. So they caved in and put them out. And yeah, we have a lack of software.
Yeah, I mean, Sony made a bunch of money off the system because it was kind of selling itself, because it was like, oh, look, new console. But I think that has worn off now.
Well, they made so much money because they didn't have to sit on shelves or sit in a warehouse that they're paying, rent on. That was what really helped, them moving so quickly is what helped it.
Yeah, I think they mostly were just like, I think the system kind of sold itself, and now it's kind of, okay, we're kind of to crunch time now. We're in early June. It's time to have some games. We should probably have some games to play on this thing. I mean, it's nice. We knew we were going to get the crappy launch titles, because there's always crappy launch titles. And boy, did PS4 not under-deliver on the crappy launch titles front. But now it's time for the decent games. About this time in the life cycle of the Xbox 360, you were starting to hear about games like Mass Effect, and you were starting to hear about, the good games that were coming out. This is around the time when, even ports of last-gen games like Hitman Blood Money and Gun and so forth were coming out, and they were fantastic on the 360. But it's like, we're not getting that with PS4 right now. We're not getting that with Xbox One.
The thing is, I thought it was silly that we had valuable E3 time, and I do consider it valuable because when you have a stage that big with that many people tuned in, everything that you say and everything that you show matters.
Not to mention that many people being paid.
Oh, a lot of people getting paid, but we're being shown long-ass fucking trailers for things like Grand Theft Auto 5 that just came out.
Yep.
It just fucking came out, and we're watching
till the end. That was what blew my mind. Like what do you save till the end of a press conference? What does Sony and Microsoft always save? The big reveal, the big exclusive, the one. It's got to be the big. And Sony's. This is pretty much like if you want to take a pulse of this entire E3. Just look at this one moment. Sony's big reveal, the big closer, was that a multi-platform game is going to come out for PlayStation 4.
The thing is, you want to know what's fucked
An
up about it?
almost year-old multi-platform game.
I legitimately didn't give a shit, except for I thought it was cool that it's going to come out on PC. And that's the main reason why I gave a shit about it, because I don't like Grand Theft Auto 4. Grand Theft Auto 4 is fucking rubbish. Anybody can argue with me on that. I don't give a fuck, because you can argue with a goddamn wall, because I'm not changing my fucking mind. Grand Theft Auto 4 is crap till you play it on PC. That game's fucking amazing on PC. Grand Theft Auto 5 is a really fucking good game. Guess what? On PC, it'll be a million times better because it'll be just like with Skyrim. Didn't really give a fuck. Playing on PC with shitloads of mods, suddenly it's like a brand new game, like a million times better over.
So it's better on PC, you say?
Oh yeah,
well, good, because
it's just
because for me everyone looked greasy, and I bet they smelled of Drakkar Noir.
With PC, it's all mods. That's the only reason I ever give a shit. But with them showing this on E3, it's like, okay, you gave us The Last of Us, and now you're giving us Grand Theft Auto 5, and you took up valuable E3 time to showcase those. Those should have been shoved together in like a 1-minute reel of, hey, here's some HD ports that we're going to be doing, and everybody can be like, fuck yeah, and then you move on. Instead, you fucking ended the show with GTA 5, and lots of people are still excited. I'm like, what the fuck are you excited over? You've already had this game. I have it sitting behind me. It's fucking right there. I'm pointing at it. It's sitting right there. I can't be fucking excited about something I already own. Like, get the fuck out of here,
you can
man.
be, but it's just harder.
I just don't get
Well,
it. Like, I really
And what's
don't.
interesting is who's the new president over there at PlayStation?
Rock
forgot
Yoshida. I mean,
The guy with the really expensive suit, and now you know where the money's going. Right after they made the announcement of those multiplats, the key one being Grand Theft Auto, they came out and he tried to get his own applause going, and there were some people applauding, and I thought there were people applauding. The Wii U tried something exactly like that, and people booed, hissed, spat in their direction, and threw children. I don't understand. I don't see. There's a disconnect there.
yeah.
So I mean, I guess it's that maybe that.
Well, no, it's because it's Sony. Sony for some dude. Sony walked into E3 last year having a free PSN and announced that they're going to start charging money for PSN, and they got cheered out of the building anyways.
Yeah, they got carried out on fucking shoulders.
Nobody can get away with shit like Sony can. It's unbelievable. There's just a certain amount of like frenzied fanatical devotion basically to that company.
I would imagine so.
There was one thing I found a lot of people that were really pissed off about and kept complaining about, and I found myself on the opposite spectrum, just looking with a weird face. I don't know how you guys will feel about it, but whenever they brought the PlayStation TV thing, the Vita TV, but now called the PlayStation TV, when that got brought up, everybody was like losing their shit, like, oh my god, it's just like last year with Xbox One where all they do is talk about TV. I'm like, when the fuck did they start mentioning TV, you fucking idiot, other than saying that it's called PlayStation TV?
At the end, the whole thing.
They did go off quite a bit.
They did a bit toward the end.
The PlayStation Now and stuff, they did dwell on that.
Powers and the goddamn Ratchet and Clank movie. A movie during a video games press conference.
That I will actually go and give you, but going and bringing up Ratchet and Clank the movie kind of made sense since they're remaking the original Ratchet and Clank.
I understand that, but it's a trailer that's going to roll in theaters. Once again, using up valuable E3 time, people making union wages, and they're rolling fucking movie trailers.
Yeah.
But at the very least, we're getting something that is actually useful. Like, you could skip out on buying a shitload of different things. Like, you could skip on buying something like a PS3 and a PlayStation Vita and a PSP. You can buy this motherfucker for $100 hook it up to your TV, and then you got, like, a bunch of the shit. Granted, you don't have any physical games, but if all you want is just, like, quick games...
If I'm not mistaken, it has a PS Vita slot on the back.
Oh, that's what I'm saying. It's like you can skip getting the actual Vita and you can just download the shit.
Yeah, but this, you know what this sounds like, though, to me, is just another thing that Sony's going to throw out there because it's a novel concept. They're not going to market it properly, just like the fucking PSP Go, and it's just kind of going to rot on a shelf and not really go.
And if not that, it's another device that they have their own ecosystem competing against itself.
They do, and that's a patented Sony move, too. Kind of
and they rock it hard.
Cannibalizing their own business model, basically. And speaking of which, they showed Dead Island 2.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, they showed a movie representing Dead Island 2.
That's true. We saw another... We finally got to see a pre-rendered CGI trailer. Finally.
You know, I was actually... There, two things went through my head about it. I was just like, what the fuck is this? And then I'm like, oh, it's Dead Island 2. And I started looking up more stuff on it, and it's not made by the original team. Now, usually, that's a cause for alarm for me, because I'm like, oh shit. But if you remember the original Dead Island, when they put that out, that game was so fucking unfinished and broken. Like, game-breaking glitches out the ass. I never finished my game because it has a game-breaking glitch that still hasn't been patched, and fuck you, I'm not going back through all that gameplay.
Ugh.
But, I was like, oh man, who's working on it? Did you guys ever play Spec Ops: The Line?
Yeah.
Okay, the guys that made that are making this. And as much as I wanted to think that Spec Ops: The Line was fucking terrible, it's actually a competent game. And I was like, they're handling this? Okay, whatever. I have more faith in them. Because Spec Ops: The Line didn't break on me.
Yeah.
And I could actually finish that.
You know, it's sad because I like Techland. Techland did Call of Juarez. Unfortunately, they also did the Call of Juarez, the Cartel shitty.
Yeah.
They also did that game, but they made the first two, and those were pretty good.
I mean, they don't have an absolutely, spotless, illustrious career and stuff like that, but they're a competent team, and at the very least, they have an IP that people are familiar with that did pretty fucking well. And I'm hoping that I would like to see them do better with the Dead Island name than who worked on it originally? Deep Silver, was that it? I can't remember their name.
Yes.
Is that it?
I think it sounds familiar. I am not going to pretend to be that up on the people who were involved in the making of that.
Well, yeah, put it this way. I was happy to see it, but again, just like we've said, like Broken Records 90 fucking times, it suffered from, it's a cinematic trailer syndrome, because that's all everybody has, and it's like, see you next year syndrome. So.
Well, everyone had that, and they had the beta syndrome.
Yeah, and of course they touched on the mandatory, pretentious, here, let us prove that games are art game with fucking Abzu that was revealed from the studio that was formed by the guy who made Journey. I believe my exact words on Twitter were, from the people who brought you Journey, a game that is both artsy and fartsy simultaneously. That was basically what I saw there.
It definitely gave me gas.
Dude, I know a lot of people that like those games, and I'm like, you could basically just buy an oil painting and get the same experience.
Yeah, I also
like literally just get hotel art. You're done.
I had to laugh. I had to laugh my balls off when the loudest pop of the night was when they revealed that there'll be a re-release of Grim Fandango. Which is, which is in all likelihood, cool. It's a fantastic game for the record, but in all likelihood, this thing's coming not just to PS4 and Vita, but probably to PC, and it's definitely coming to PC.
Dude, if it does not come to PC, I will throw my computer at somebody.
And you know what? In all likelihood, if it's coming to PC, it's probably coming to Xbox One too.
Oh, it will be. I guarantee what it is it's going to be a fucking timed release exclusive, and that's fine. I'm just glad that it actually got some spotlight. But the thing is, 90% of the people that were watching E3 were like, they just started cheering because other people were. They're like, I don't know, that middle-aged guy over there looks happy. Me too, yeah!
Kind of like in wrestling where people start applauding a hammerlock and you don't know why. Oh, yeah, good.
Pretty much. It's just one of those things. But I was happy to see it, but I'll be honest, I was still hoping for Brutal Legend 2, and that didn't happen, so...
Oh, man.
Yeah.
The heavy metal video game crossover is fucking dead and gone, my friend.
I know, but I really like that game. I just want them to be like, Brutal Legend 2, now with a jump button. I'd be like, fuck yeah! That'd be so amazing.
That'd be like when, And Justice for All came out with bass on it. It's like, I knew something was missing.
I also like how it took Sony how fucking long to finally implement YouTube. Like, what?
Yeah.
I didn't even know it was gone. I thought...
Dude, I thought it was weird that it wasn't there to begin with, and I thought that they were just gonna, like, patch it in at some point as, like, an update, and then they're like, nah, we're actually gonna make a conference announcement.
Yeah, it was hilarious because they didn't even have well, I think they might have said something about this July for a beta, maybe, or maybe I'm thinking of PlayStation Now. But
PlayStation Now has the beta going on.
Yeah, okay, so they didn't announce a release date for it. So they made an announcement about something that should have been on the console to begin with, and they didn't even tell us what. They're basically like, YouTube, at some point.
Well, there was one thing that I did actually like that they touched upon, which... I mean, I more than likely won't ever fuck with it, but I know lots of people that'll get use out of it, so I can see the use in it, is they start talking about a lot of the streaming options in conjunction with it.
Yeah.
And that's like all the different ways that people are going to be able to interact with the person that's streaming said game. Like, they'll be able to, like, jump in your game, they'll be able to talk to you directly. There's, like, a bunch of shit they'll be able to do. Though I also foresee this turning into a lot of big, messy situations. A lot, and it could be so bad but so funny at the same time. So, but I was happy.
Yeah, that's good. At least you were happy.
Yeah.
And
and how about Uncharted?
Oh yeah, way at the end there, we got to see
and then
39 seconds of a head wound.
Yeah, and even before that, they talked about Batman Arkham Knight, which has Batman in a tank because he loves how non-lethal he is. He refuses. I refuse to kill people. That's why I'm Batman. And in that spirit, I'm going to jump in this tank and start blowing Gotham City apart.
Yeah. He deplores lethality. He deplores lethality, but loves property damage.
I like to think back to the Tim Burton movies whenever he had the actual machine gun and flamethrower built into the Batmobile, and I was like, fuck yeah! Yes. Like, I won't kill people.
Well, you didn't see anybody die.
Like, I'm gonna serve them justice with lead. It's like, oh man, that's awesome. And I mean, people were dying left and right, but nobody bats an eye. Bats an eye.
Bats an eye. Oh my goodness.
Just coated in copper.
Not only that, but I love that scene in Batman Returns, which is still my favorite Batman movie, where he freaking the bad guy has like a time bomb. The big old fat guy, and he grabs the time bomb, and he somehow manages. He like punches the guy in the face to distract him, and then when the guy like smiles and looks back at him, he looks down and realizes the time bomb's attached to him now, and he freaking throws him down a well, and he blows up. Batman literally kills a man, just murders him.
Yeah, no, the bomb killed the man. Batman simply facilitated the bomb. He's like a travel agent. He gets things where they need to be.
It's true.
Okay, well, I definitely have a comic where Batman has a dude that's fucking hung by basically a noose from a Batcopter, and he flies around Gotham with this dude dead. And he's like, no, let him stay that way.
Was that like Batman cross Scarface?
No, I mean, this is actually, like, way, way, way back in the day. I think this might be, like, 60s era Batman?
Wow, this is cooler than the Batman game.
Yeah, initially, he killed bitches in the beginning.
Yeah, he did not give a fuck whatsoever. I mean, it was actually kind of brutal, even by today's standards. Like, to fucking hang a guy, broken neck, and then just fly around the city and remind everybody, I'm the goddamn fucking Batman, fuck with me. When you see that bat signal in the air, your ass is grass, and I'm gonna fucking kill you. It's like, no! Oh, man. Yeah, but
Sony!
I don't give a fuck. Batman Arkham Knight looks sweet. I know, Razorfist, you're probably like, fuck this game.
No, I'm fine with it. I enjoyed three of the now four Batman Arkham games. You know, this one looks cool. So I didn't enjoy Origins though. I thought it was.
No, it depresses me because I got Origins, was all excited, and then Origins was like, hey, your save file, you're stuck in purgatory down in the sewers and you can't ever leave ever.
Yep.
I'm like, what? And it's like, yeah, we'll never patch this or fix it.
It was a cash in. I mean, that was Warner Brothers got some other studio to crank out a quick sequel because they're milking Batman right now.
And what else have they to milk?
It's true.
The thing is, it seemed kind of redundant to go and bring it out, but I was like, hey, that could be kind of cool, but the story has tons of plot holes in it, and the game was fucking broken as far as, like, you know, them actually going and refining it. It's like, there's no reason that I enter an area and then I can never leave, ever.
Yeah.
I didn't do, like, some weird fucking thing. I entered the sewers and I couldn't leave. Like, you're fucking shitting me. That was, like, no, I put in lots of extra time. It's, like, 8-9 hours of gameplay gone. And God forbid if I was, like, doing a Let's Play of it. I'm like, well, that was fun.
Yeah, it's like, God, it's like you were playing Fallout New Vegas all over again.
I don't know, man. It's fucking stupid. But this one, like, every time I saw footage of Arkham Knight, I was just, I mean, people were complaining that, oh man, this isn't on 360 or PS3, it's bullshit. And I'm like, have you seen the game? It was built from the ground up on brand new architecture for a reason. That game is fucking amazing. Like, the draw distance goes on endlessly, and it's running at, like, whatever frames per second, and looks fucking super fluid. And
10,000 frames per second.
Absolutely. Apparently that's a big deal now.
1 million frames per second.
But I was actually kind of happy that they had the Batmobile, and just driving that around, seeing it in action, looks really neat.
Looks just because, funky, though. But yeah.
Dude, we came from Arkham Asylum that was, like, very confined to an open game where you can drive now. That's kind of a big step.
Yeah. Although I argued from the very beginning, the fucking Batmobile should have been in this series from the very goddamn beginning. I didn't understand why it fucking wasn't. But
no, we got it in Lego Batman 2, so fuck it, why not?
So there's that. Dude, we got it on the freaking Sega CD with Batman Returns. Let's be real.
Well, you get it on the Sega CD, you just don't get past it on the Sega CD. Because that part is harder than all fucking shit. Like, that's harder than my dick around fucking Paige from WWE. That shit, like, I was like, how are you supposed to defeat this? Anybody who's...
And it's more wooden than her acting. Oh!
that bitch couldn't sell bread to the starving either.
No, she can't. She does not sell moves at all. But for some reason, they're like, hey, keep wrestling Alicia Fox, but at least she's competent at wrestling, so I'm kind of happy.
Yeah, but she has no fucking charisma.
No, but they have her acting real crazy now, so that's kind of cool and useful, I guess.
I don't think that's acting. But anyway...
No, it's probably not. But yeah, so we got to see Batman, and they were just like, yeah, Batman, but I've already seen footage for it, so seeing it at E3 was kind of like, okay, move along. And, but what else did they show off?
They closed with Uncharted 4, didn't they?
No, they closed with Grand Theft Auto 5, which was what I found hilarious.
Oh, did they? I forgot. I was,
I didn't understand that. You should have announced, it should have been reversed. They announced Uncharted 4 and then announced GTA 5. Which we know Uncharted 4 ain't coming out for a while. Probably not even in 2015, if I had to guess. But, like...
Well,
but fucking, we know it's not coming out for a while. But still, that's your big exclusive. Like, you would think that would close out the show. It kind of betrays what their actual feelings are as far as the value of that franchise. If it's superseded by Grand Theft Auto. A multi-platform that's just a port. You know...
Yeah,
That just
it all it is a fucking HD remaster. But there's one thing that came up, and I was looking at footage for it, and I just had one question come to mind. You guys saw the game Bloodborne, right?
of course.
It was a fucking bloody mess, man. It was like a hemorrhage video.
Yeah, a big time gory game. It's made by the people that made Demon Souls.
Yeah, it looks
And-
like a much more competent Dark Souls. honestly.
But the thing that makes me wonder is Sony, if I'm not mistaken, actually owns the rights to the name Demon Souls, and Demon Souls is still exclusive to the PS3. Why didn't they just call it Demon Souls 2? It's the same fucking thing.
I don't know. Who knows?
Don't forget,
You
these
know
are the
what?
people that close with a multi-plat. Bad decisions.
I mean, I don't know if they're really restructuring this game, that it's just not the same, but the look and
Yeah,
like
it
the
looked an
overall
awful
vibe
lot like
is the same.
it just looked like Demon Souls, but with the controls tightened up a lot, and with
Yeah,
none of that annoying. Oh, if I'm in a narrow hallway and I try and swing my sword, it's gonna bounce off the wall instead of.
yeah, that shit. That's one of the things that fucking bugged me about that. And somebody's gonna be like, "Yeah, well, you need to play." Shut the fuck up. Like the thing is, there's a game on Dreamcast called Sword of the Berserk Guts Rage, I think. But anyway, they do that. He has this big fucking sword, and it always hits off walls. There are certain things in video games that you don't adapt to like actual realism because it doesn't work.
Yeah.
And that's one of those things. It becomes not fun to play now, and it's you just don't fucking do that. And I'm glad that they won't be doing
Well,
shit
that's
like
the
that.
problem I always had with it. It was never that the game's hard, because I actually don't happen to think the Souls series, in terms of the actual scenarios and the enemies and the strategy involved and leveling up and so forth, is all that prohibitively difficult. It was when all the other stuff would happen, like button input delay and your sword bouncing off of walls when you try and hit enemies with it, and those kind of cheap things that really don't have anything to do with actual difficulty, just bad control.
And that's just a design flaw.
That is a
And
design flaw, fundamentally.
And they kept it in, and it's fucking redundant. But with Bloodborne, like, I heard a lot of mixed reactions on it, but I was just like, I thought it looked cool, and I'm not even into like the Dark Souls and Demon Souls
No,
game.
I
Like,
thought
I
it
think
looked
they're
awesome.
using-
I mean, it had me interested, and I don't even like Dark Souls or Demon Souls.
Yeah, so here, you're listening to two motherfuckers that are metal as shit and don't really give a fuck about games, and people are like, oh my god, it's like the most brutally hard thing. And I'm like, so you've never played Ninja Gaiden on Nintendo, you poor fucking sap. Like, but regardless, I'm happy that this will at least be coming out. It bewilders me that it's not called Demon Souls 2, and that just is going to haunt me forever unless they ever decide that they're going to talk about it.
Yeah. Final feeling for me on the Sony press conference is just, I think it was actually kind of a weak offering compared to what they really needed to get out there.
It was full of a lot of fluff.
It was just a lot of multiplats and a lot of holiday 2015.
Yeah, it was a lot of what I would like to call hurry up and wait.
Basically, yeah. I mean, they really needed games that were going to come out before holiday season, and what we got was Little Big Planet 3.
I think that's
Yeah, I was
all,
about to say
if
it.
I'm not mistaken.
I think that was like one of the only ones. Well, then isn't the DLC for Infamous?
Yeah, but
gonna
that's,
be out
it's DLC.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's not stealing. I'm desperately trying to find shit that's like 2014 bound.
and that's the
Like,
thing. When it shakes consumer confidence if this cannot be fulfilled, and if it's not on disc, people are not going to be impressed because you're not going to have anything to fill. We're still in that space where what goes onto the store shelves affects people's mentality and the way they perceive it.
You know, I'm glad I actually saw this because that was one of the first things that came up that whenever I first started watching the press conference was that one game Entwined. That one
You mean
where
Entwined?
it's like, Entwined doesn't matter. That shit, like, it looked pretty fucking neat, and I thought it was kind of cool that they're showcasing this, and they were like, yeah, check this out, it's a real cool looking game. You know, it reminded me of the game Rez a little bit, and like, it was just, I don't know, kind of cool. But anyway, at the end of it, they're like, yeah, and you can go get it right now. And I thought that was fucking
that was
sweet.
like a welcome surprise. I was like blown away. I mean, I was kind of distracted because, watching that game was kind of like I don't know if you guys have noticed this. I was talking about this on Twitter a little bit, but like Sony, there is nothing Sony love more, apart from nickel and diming people for peripherals, than a screen behind their presenters with a bunch of nebulous ribbons of CGI bullshit just floating around.
Oh, they
Like,
love
there's
that.
just-
They love that
There's just
shit.
random, like, you know, it looks like somebody dropped some milk into.
Yeah, they want to be Instagram. They just want things on top of things.
There's just swirly shit behind them, and it was like
They're getting into scrapbooking. That's what they're doing.
and preferably with a Sony logo in front of it. And then I was like, suddenly they showed this game, and it was like you were playing the screen. Like you were playing the nebulous, floaty ribbons of shit on that's what the game was.
It's like Cat's Cradle, but digital.
Basically, yeah.
Dude, like for anybody that hasn't seen it, like look up Entwined, just see, because you use both analog sticks and you kind of steer both analog sticks to go through these different orange and blue patterns on screen, and it's just one of those things. I'm like, well, that actually looks kind of cool. And, you know, they were like, yeah, it's $10. I'm like, that seems about the price that it should be. They're like, yeah, go download it now. I'm like, wait, what? And you don't expect that shit, especially when it's like, see you next year, see you next year, see you next year, see you at the end of the year, see you at the end of the year. Yeah, get it right now. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Well, I know
shit
whose
came
book
out of
they took
nowhere.
that out of.
I just wish that they had like some AAA game that they were like, yeah, it'll be out tomorrow or something like that, or just like in a month. And I'm like, fuck yeah, but we weren't really seeing much of that except for from that other company, which we'll get to.
And real quick, Fist, I don't know if I forgot this. Did they say a whole lot about the Morpheus? Because someone was talking in my ear when that was going
They
on.
mentioned it for like half a second.
Okay, because I thought they were
mentioned
gonna.
it very briefly, and I think it was in conjunction with something else. I want to say PlayStation Now or something like that.
I was trying to watch because I was trying. It's like, are they going to drop a price? Are they going to say anything about it? And somebody in my ear said,
Well,
"What do you think about it?" And I'm like, it sounds to me like you're going to pay an exorbitant amount of money to look like an asshole in front of your friends.
Well, they did say that, like, probably right now as we're recording, there's more than likely some up, but
I'm sure.
they said on the actual floor itself that they were going to have the Morpheus headsets to go and test out. And I know that one of the sites has hands-on previews, but I didn't get around to reading them. So it is out there, and people have tried it. I just don't know what the fuck.
I just want to know where they put the little stand underneath it.
Wait, little stand underneath it?
Never mind. It was a joke from a more successful company.
Yeah, it was.
You see what?
And then it finally comes to me in all of its red and black glory.
And
but
it requires 7C batteries.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yes.
So
but
Sony wrapped it up.
Morpheus is
Yeah,
there.
Morpheus was there.
If that shit costs more than like $300, it's dead in the water.
It'll cost more than God and this Jaguar CD combined. But anyway, so Sony closed out with Grand Theft Auto 5. Yay. And then we all laid our heads to rest. Well, actually, I laid my head to rest. Razorfist went on for about 17 goddamn years on Twitter. And if you don't follow Razorfist on the Twitter, you're missing out. You got to check it out. And that's why I couldn't get to sleep. It was just, he was just going on. Of course, you've heard a lot of those jokes here, but there was some fresh ones in there, and I'm not going to spoil them. Follow Razorfist on Twitter. But we laid our heads down, not knowing what the next day one, because for some reason Monday is never called day one. Day one, we awoke, and it was Nintendo's time to shine. The Mario.
I just had a feeling, man. You said it. I said it in my.
You did.
In my pre-E3 video, it felt like this year was going to be Nintendo's year. It felt like they were going to play spoiler because it seemed like Microsoft and Sony didn't have much, and like all they really had to do was kind of stay the course, and they would win the day. And holy fuck did that happen.
One thing that I posed to you, Fist, right before the show began was what they needed, like Smash Brothers, maybe X, Bayonetta, and something else.
Yeah.
And they're set. And friends, you're going to call me biased, and I probably am, but in my estimation, through this day that we're recording, Nintendo has been knocking in dicks all day long.
I feel like I'm watching that Steven Seagal cock puncher trailer.
That's exactly what it was like. I told the boys before we got going with the show that Nintendo somehow through their digital event, which otherwise would be called the Nintendo Direct, actually it was quite a bit more entertaining than Nintendo Direct. It was a good time, especially if you like Robot Chicken, and those of you who watched, you know what I'm talking about. But it was just an unstoppable onslaught from the word go. Nintendo, in 46 minutes and 49 seconds, managed to outpace Sony inside the entire PlayStation 4 launch window. And those windows are getting longer and longer all the time.
You knew it was going to be a big conference when the first announcement was about Super Smash Brothers.
Yeah.
That's what they opened with. You're
that
just
was
like,
the fucking throwaway.
I was like, I thought that needed to be your closer. Like, whoa, what did they have going on here? And then they kind of, it lulled for a little while, and then it was like, oh yeah, by the way, Legend of Zelda, motherfucker.
Yeah, which looked beautiful. And a lot of details. Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire being re-released on the Nintendo 3DS.
Which is weird, because I was talking with a friend of mine last night, and we were kind of talking, what would Nintendo have to do? And one of the things we were talking about was Pokemon. We were like, that's kind of a franchise that they really need to, continue to move forward with. Because it's kind of like, I would really like to see them move it onto consoles a little bit more again. But still, they made the announcement with the 3DS. It's interesting. So.
And people were excited about it. No Majora's Mask 3D to speak of. I know a lot of people were looking forward to that. But
yeah, but did you guys see? It's Pokemon Alpha and Omega.
Hey! Which reminds me, call the lawyers. We gotta make a date.
Yeah, I don't know, man. They have like actual like contract killers working.
That's right.
How did Michael Pachter not see this coming?
The same way he didn't see himself getting sold.
Oh!
We'll cover that in just 1 second. We're gonna leave that towards the end because I'm gonna tell that joke again because it bears repeating. But a lot of good stuff. They came out with Yarn Yoshi, was now called Yoshi's Woolly World, which turns out to look like a much bigger game than I had ever estimated.
That's basically going to end up being a lot like oh my god, what the fuck's the name of the Yoshi game on Nintendo 64?
Oh, Yoshi's Island?
No, that's...
It's about Yoshi's Story.
Yeah, thank you. That's what this looks like it's going to be, crossed with Kirby's Epic Yarn.
Yeah,
and those two are going to have an amazing baby together.
Well, and also it's being done by Goodfeel Incorporated, who are the masterminds behind Kirby's Epic Yarn and Wario Land Shake It, which were fantastic titles on the Wii. I don't give a shit what anyone has to say about it. They were great.
Dude, Wario Land Shake It was surprisingly good, and it was one of those games like no one gave a fuck about. By the way, my cat looks real regal right now, and it's very awesome. I wish I could take a picture of it.
Next time we do a video podcast.
Yeah, it's just like, who has ADD out of the podcast? You can't tell. Yeah, anyway, sorry.
But all kinds of stuff. Captain Toad's Treasure Tracker, which is sort of a mini-game collection, very much based on... For those of you that played Super Mario 3D World, the Captain Toad missions, well, Captain Toad got his own game, and it looks like a lot of fun.
I thought that was fucking surprising. I did not see that coming, but I can honestly say I didn't give a fuck about that. That was a throwaway for me.
You didn't like that one? I thought that was really cool.
It's like, I don't think that it's a bad minigame. I actually thought they were kind of cool because while I enjoy puzzle games, I suck at them, but these kind of puzzle games I'm more into. And yeah, I was just like, that's its own game now? Well, I'll be fucking damned. And I just moved on. So it's something I'll play, but I'll only pay like $10 for it or some shit.
Yeah, it seems like that's all it's really going to be. It seems like it'll be an eShop title, but it looked like, it looks like something that'll hold my attention for at least a little while. After that, we heard about Zelda Wii U, which we didn't hear a whole lot about, but we got to see some fantastic visuals, and in the true mysterious spirit, we got a 2015 date. So,
dude, that game has the bomb booty that I want to put all up in it. Just like, fuck, damn, piss. It looked pretty.
Oh, yeah.
And there's people flipping out saying, oh, I hate the art style because it doesn't look like super ultra realistic Link. And I'm like, you have already had that multiple times. and this looks amazing, like artistically, this looks amazing and will hold up a lot better than something that's going for realism.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
And especially, the Wii U, not as powerful as the Xbox One and the PS4.
No.
You gotta emphasize the system's strengths. That's what you gotta do, and that's what it looks like they're doing.
And they're going for open world, and I'm so fucking happy for that, because the idea that it's a non-linear Legend of Zelda, not to say that the past titles are linear, but truth be told, you do kind of got to hit up certain places before you go anywhere else, because you need this item to access this area inside this dungeon, etc.
Cool. I mean, I love the idea that they're adding a new element, because it's been has been a little while. It seems like the last several Zeldas have had one or two new mechanics, but nothing that was like adopting elements of other games. Like, there are people who still think of, even though I personally consider it more of an adventure game, who still think of Legend of Zelda as kind of an RPG. And it's always been kind of quizzical to me why Legend of Zelda has not adopted more tropes of RPG gaming, like, things like having a party. I would love to have a Zelda game where you had maybe one or two additional playable characters that were with you.
Well, see, that's why I always thought it'd be neat if they had a story where, okay, Link doesn't talk. And I've actually grown to accept that, and I'm fine with it. As a matter of fact, I think that they ought to keep it that way, but they should make it so that you eventually actually get to take on a role-playing aspect of it where you get to pick what he's saying now.
I'd like to say I'm very thankful for it, because I have played the CDI.
Yeah, or you're already doing Hyrule Warriors, which is basically, Legend of Zelda Dynasty Warriors. So why not do a Legend of Zelda full-on RPG? Why not?
It would be fucking killer. And the thing is, Nintendo has proven that if they do anything that's RPG related, it fucking rocks.
Yeah, it's weird. They don't do it much.
Every single time. And I mean, we got Super Mario RPG, Paper Mario, then we got Earthbound, and we have the Fire Emblem
and
games.
Mario and Luigi.
Yeah, I mean, and all of the things I just named off are fucking awesome. and that's the thing. So anytime Nintendo's like, yeah, we're going to dabble in the realm of RPGs, it's like fucking home run city. Do it with this. Like Hyrule Warriors, that's something I was watching on Twitch, and seeing it in action, like, I'm a big fan of the Dynasty Warriors games. I know that they're not perfect. I know that they're very repetitive, and I've accepted that. It's just mindless slaughter, and I enjoy that. This, on the other hand, is not. It looks like it's like the most refined Dynasty Warriors game. Graphically is one of the nicest ones that they have. Done with the Legend of Zelda universe, you actually have to use more strategy among some of the mobs and the bosses, and you have to use the terrain to your advantage. Yeah. Certain characters are better for certain situations.
And the best of all, it was the one thing they needed to do, and sure enough, they did it. It's coming out on September 26th.
Yeah, that was something else. I'm like, dude, actually quite a few of their games are coming out this year.
And that's exactly what they needed to do. They're doing exactly what Sony and Microsoft are not doing. It's like brilliant. I really think it's a turning point. I think this is going to be kind of a momentum changer for.
Speaking of coming in the near future, coming in October, the collection that seems like the whole goddamn internet wanted. Let's see if they buy it. Bayonetta 1 and 2 released together for the Wii U this October.
Yep.
Thank God.
One of the most ridiculous games I've ever seen has gotten a sequel, and now they're packaging them together. It's a win-win.
Yep.
Yeah, dude, all I wanted, like, whenever they announced this, because I knew damn well they weren't going to release a standalone Bayonetta, like, just throw them together into a limited edition. Well, it's not even a limited edition, it's just how the game is. It has Bayonetta 1 on it, as well as Bayonetta 2. And on top of that, Bayonetta can dress up as Samus, Link, and Princess Peach.
There's going to be some major fapping on that game.
Dude, I can say this, like, seeing her in Princess Peach's stuff looked fucking weird. I don't know what it is, but it looks wrong. It's real off. It's actually kind of scary looking. You just gotta see it.
I think she looks like a whore.
It's just, I don't know, it's wrong, but it was cool seeing her dressed as Link, because it seemed like she was actually, like, adopting his moveset. And I don't know if they have custom movesets depending on the outfits, but it was pretty badass. and it looked really nice. It was like it was Skyward Sword style Link, so take that with what you can. But it's what I wanted to hear. It made me happy.
The other really cool one that I saw was Mario Maker.
I was gonna say it's a thing. It's real.
Man, I just wanted my hands on that while I was watching it. I was just like, this is fucking cool. I want to fuck around with this.
No, you just want to torture people, don't you?
Because I used to do that as a kid. I used to make little 2D scroller levels, like just draw them down on a piece of paper. Like, here's where the spike pits go. Mm-hmm. Here's where the lava go. Lots of kids did that back in the day. Just draw it out kind of Mega Man style, and like, this is basically that, but in video game form, and you'll get to play them. And it's, oh man, that just sounds.
You want to know what's a good thing about this is that right now we're still like in a big creation boom, where PC is definitely taken over with the whole thing. Like with Minecraft, for example, create a game, create a stage, create a world, create a character type things.
Or the killer app for the PS4, fucking Little Big Planet 3,
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, these are games all about making stuff, and the thing is, a Mario game, like the ROM hacking community is fucking huge, and has been doing it for a long ass time. I mean, I have a ROM hacked Super Mario World sitting up on my shelf that I've played multiple times, never beat because it's hard as shit, but. It's just a prime example of people love doing that kind of shit, downloading stages. Like when I first got Little Big Planet, I got the Game of the Year edition, and I downloaded all sorts of like themed stages and levels and stuff and would try them out. And some of them were absolute fucking garbage, and other ones people took a lot of time and made this stuff amazing. And I'm like, fuck yeah. And with this, it's Super Mario. But it's actually like Nintendo's like, yeah, go gung ho and just do whatever the fuck you want. That makes
not
me
only
happy
did you
as
see
shit.
it's available not only in 8-bit graphics, but new Super Mario Brothers U graphic.
Yeah. Dude, I was surprised by that. Whenever they showed off like the newer one, I was like, whoa.
And did I not call the Xenoblade Chronicles X thing?
You did. You did.
Yeah, I did.
Yep.
I knew it. I was looking at it. I was like, this is a Xenoblade thing. This has to be.
It made me happier than shit that they decided to make that the title rather than just say, well, it's within the universe. Now, they put in the title because they want to capitalize off of the fact that, Xenoblade did very well.
Yeah.
And now they're like, fuck it, this is going to be a franchise. And I think that's a good thing because, I mean, Xenoblade to begin with was a great game, but I watched tons of footage of this. And again, this was other shit I was watching on Twitch. And they were just romping the fuck out of random enemies, like within the starting area. I don't know what the hell they were saying because everything was still in Japanese.
Yeah, who cares?
But they went through
some
creative character.
Right?
Yeah.
No,
But
were most.
I mean, the gameplay was tight, looked fun.
No, it just looks fantastic. It was like every time you thought there was going to be a lull in this thing, it was just like, oh, by the way, Xenoblade Chronicles X.
Oh yeah. And
by the way.
Yeah, and the swinging just continued.
Yeah, after the franchise was after the stream was over, they're like, oh, hey, by the way, Star Fox. Like,
yeah.
What? You could have led with that. What's wrong with you?
The thing... there was actually another thing I wanted to go and toss this out because I was a big fan of the original and it was one of the first games I got for the DS. They have a new Kirby coming out for the Wii U.
The Rainbow Curse, right?
Yep.
And yeah, I got Kirby's Canvas Curse on the DS, and I like that game a lot.
As do I.
And there's people who, it's hit or miss for them because it's not a traditional platformer. But I thought it was a novel enough experience to like really run with. And considering, the Wii U tablet is a big touchscreen, why the fuck not? You've already got the architecture, you got all the foundation down, you got most of the coding. Just do more with it, and they are. And I was happy to see that.
Oh, sorry, go on.
Oh, no.
Oh, okay. What really stuck out to me was the use of the stop-motion claymation graphic. I've never seen that in a video game.
That was so cool.
Of all the money being spent to develop video games to make people look realistic, how did no one think to do this already?
Well, okay, they did Clay Fun.
They have.
Well, that doesn't fucking count. That's a bunch of pixelated bullshit.
There's, on PS1, there's a game called Skull Monkeys.
Oh, I forgot
really
about
good
that.
platform. Yeah, that did it, but it's...
True.
But
to this degree,
it's a good example. Like, they anytime that you go with like an art style like this, while some people will scoff at it at first glance because that doesn't look like real life.
like
Guess
Wind
what?
Waker.
10 years down the road,
Yeah.
this will still look good,
Yeah.
whereas your super realistic game looked dated as shit after 6 months.
It's just like when people scoffed at games like Jet Grind Radio and Okami. Like, no.
Yeah.
Or when they scoffed at the
And guess
Wind Waker
what?
for the cell shaded graphics.
Yeah.
But all those games, like if you ever got bored and emulated them, and then just started turning everything up to fucking max on your shit, it was mind blowing to see. It already looked good to begin with, and they hold up over time. And I'm glad that they're going with something like that, because it just, like Kirby's Epic Yarn had its own art style. This, going with Claymation again will have its own art style. It just sucks that people don't want to take it serious because they're like, yeah, well, that's colorful and it's like for kids or something.
In 10
It's
years,
like, yeah,
that game is going to be expensive as fuck.
Yeah, probably.
yeah, it more likely will. And did you guys see fucking Splatoon?
I was saying, swinging right along, they come out with Splatoon, which is the cutest goddamn shooting game I've ever seen in my life, and looks like an unstoppable title. I don't even. It looks fantastic, and I want to play it right now.
People that are hardcore Nintendo haters watched that and seriously thought it looked fun as shit.
I've never seen shooting look more fun.
Yeah, I just kept on making jokes
It
about it.
kind of reminded, you know what it kind of reminded me of is the multiplayer from Conker's Bad Fur Day.
Yeah, that's actually a very good
You're
example.
going way back.
And I loved that multiplayer, for the record.
Mm-hmm.
Loved that multiplayer. And I was so mad when they finally shut down the servers on Conker Live and Reloaded for Xbox. Because I was like, no, I used to play that multiplayer all the time. It was a blast. But
it's something like that. That's kind of what they needed, though. They took something that people do all the time: go online, play versus games, and they're shooters. They decided to take that and then just make it so that anybody can pick it up and play it.
Instead of doing what Sony and Microsoft are doing right now, where it's like, oh, Call of Duty's really popular, let's make our own Call of Duty. Oh, Gears of War is really popular, let's make our own Gears of War. They were like, shooters are popular, let's make it Nintendo. Let's make it its own thing. Let's have it feel definitively like it's ours.
Let's hijack this bitch.
Yes, exactly.
The thing is, like, the one thing that I always just want to remind people of is quit saying that a game that's rated E is beneath you.
Yeah.
Because it's not. That's just a fucking rating on it.
Well, we're lucky. Now that in the year 2014, guys who were making all that noise saying those things are now paying alimony, so we don't hear from them as much.
You can't afford the internet anymore. But it's just one of those things. Like, I always think it's asinine because something like this, I'm like, this looks fun. Well, that's for kids. I'm like, how the fuck do you figure? Like, yeah, I'm a full-grown ass man. I can pick up any goddamn game I want. Like, I'm not going to pick up, like, Dora the Explorer because that is a fucking kid's game. But I will pick up a game like Splatoon, that definitely sounds like some kind of weird Indian porn movie, and I will play the fuck out of it.
Well, they're the Splat Platoon.
Splat Platoon?
Get it? Splatoon.
I also.
Oh, I thought you were saying that's how it's pronounced. I was like,
no.
kidding?
That's what it's a play on words.
I also
I
wanted
got
to mention
fucking
this.
worried. I'm like, oh my god, really? Because that's awesome.
I also wanted to mention this. They didn't actually. A lot of the games they showed this year were not very casually oriented, but the one that I noticed that I think is going to be kind of a quiet little sleeper hit for them is the Captain Toad's treasure tracker thing with the fucking puzzle gaming and whatnot. Mm-hmm. It looks like a fun little addictive like puzzle game.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's a puzzle platformer with no jumping.
Kind of, yeah.
It's a cute little game. I think it'll be a lot of fun. Also, they really quietly seeped out. We got a new Mario versus Donkey Kong coming to Wii U.
Yes! Oh man, and I love the freaking
that.
Mario versus Donkey Kong on DS. So much fun. I've actually been playing through that recently.
I was just playing the one on the DSi, the Minis March Again, and those games are unstoppable.
They're so much fun.
I love them.
Yeah.
And you want to know what's fucked up is... Okay, for let's see. How long have we been going? We've been going for about an hour and a half or so, and with Sony, Microsoft, Ubisoft, and Electronic Arts, we had a ton of fucking problems with each individual conference. Yet with this, we're like, damn, they're fucking delivering. And you want to know what's fucked up? It's not because, well, you've got some kind of bias. Da-da-da-da-da. It's like, no, all we wanted was games.
Dude, I don't even
You needed.
up front, I don't even own a Wii U. This makes me want to own one. This conference was a home fucking run.
What the 8-bit fans don't know is Razorfist is going to try and convince me to come to Arizona more often now. So that we can play Donkey Kong and stuff.
Either that or I'm going to make a lot more pit stops into San Diego.
You might have to, you know.
The only thing that I can say that I was disappointed with whenever it came to this particular conference was I really wanted something with F-Zero, and I really wanted something with the new Fatal Frame.
I have a feeling both those titles are in development anyways.
Well, they got to save something for the Tokyo Game Show and the GDC.
Well, that's actually something I was going to bring up. There's people who were really fucking agitated that Square Enix was staying mum about Kingdom Hearts 3 and Final Fantasy 15, and they're like, oh, fuck E3, duh. And I'm like, you do realize that they're probably going to hold off and have that shit in like their hometown.
Yeah. I don't know why though, because it's Tokyo Game Show has fallen in prominence to such a degree.
Well, so has E3, so let's not, you know.
I was going to say, while it may have, but you got to look at it like this. With two games a lot of people are eager to see, whenever you put it into Tokyo Game Show, that actually makes it so people want to tune in for said large fan bases that want to check it out.
Yeah. And the other thing I hadn't taken into consideration is the fact that fucking Japan's gaming market is just shit right now, so they kind of need something to re-energize the consumer base over there, because the console business in Japan is just dying.
Well, it's because they're jaded, like Americans.
Well, they've moved to mobile and smartphones just like we have. I mean, that's basic.
Well, moving and shopping are two different things.
One thing we actually didn't get to talk about was the little Nintendo figurines that they have.
Amiibo, yes, I forgot about
Amiibo, yeah, that's it. I couldn't remember the fucking name.
Amiibo, Bo knows.
Yeah.
Okay, so thoughts about Nintendo's version of Skylander?
I think it's if they work the way they claim they do, that's a really neat prospect.
Well, here, why don't you tell everybody in the Hater Nation?
I'll tell all the folks in the Hater Nation. The Amiibo is, as Alpha Omegason said, the Nintendo's response to Disney Infinity and the Skylanders. What's the Trap Team or something? I don't know what they're doing over there, but the Skylanders.
If we want to know anything about the Skylanders shit, we have to go ask Chris Bors about it. So
I'm gonna stab that motherfucker. But anyway. Well, don't bring me down on my good time. But anyway, as opposed to, now, the Disney Infinity, for those you don't know, I'm sure you know by now, but I'll break it down for you. The Disney Infinity and the Skylanders are essentially physical, downloadable content. You know, what they do is they put bright colors and loud noises in front of children at Target, and then they say, Mommy, I want the thing that's blue and the thing that's green and so forth. And parents spend the goddamn house payment so they can play with the Wii. What Nintendo's doing is instead of being simply one-way content, they're two-way content. Apparently, there's some way that near-field communication can not only be used to sense near-field communication, but can also use the near-field communication to write to these individual figurines. And the individual figurines are somehow custom. I'm not really certain on it, because apparently it's going to work differently across different games. But it's starting with Super Smash Brothers. These will be customizable, essential model chips that you can, you customize. So that way they're not only just chips sitting on a shelf, but they are a living, breathing part of the game.
Okay, so you're saying that not only are these things containing information, but they can actually receive information? They can receive
information to be, I shouldn't say completely, but many parameters of it are customizable.
Huh. So see, I don't know much of shit about, like, if anybody's listening to this, I'm like, you don't know that? Look, I don't know fuck all about Skylanders and Disney Xfinity, except for the fact that my son says that he wants stuff like that.
I'm amazed about Skylanders, because somehow they made people give a shit about Spyro the Dragon. I don't know how they did that.
That's not Spyro the Dragon. That is an abortion that they painted purple and strapped two cardboard wings to.
Okay, so. Well, but your kid wants them, though, so...
Well, he just wants them because they're toys, and I'm like, no, because Daddy has over 1,000 video games and they're way
Oh,
better.
he's like, Daddy has toys. Touch those. I don't want to go to the store.
No, he can't go near any of my action figures. I don't want him near my really expensive Tyrant figure or my
on
Godzilla
Batman's
figure.
head, do you?
No, he cannot fuck with them. He has his own toys. He's good.
Finally, some honest parenting. Fuck my kid. He ain't going over there.
Like, yeah, it's like, get out of the game room.
What else did they threw out? Just kept swinging all day long. A new Art Academy is coming to Wii U. Pokemon Art Academy.
Yeah, Art Academy. Art Academy was actually a good idea because ever since they had Miiverse, motherfuckers doodle some amazing shit on there all
with
goddamn day.
No tools whatsoever.
And the thing is, what I want this, like, deep down inside, all I wanted Art Academy to be was Mario Paint U.
Yeah.
Well, except for that sounds really perverted. Never mind. I can't even use it. Maybe they realized that, and they're like, yeah, that doesn't work. Mario Paint U. It's like,
Fit You was suggestive enough as it was.
Yeah, We Fit You, I think, is way worse than Mario Paint U. Mario Paint U can just be like, he has a roller and he's, like, on drugs. But We Fit You is definitely, like, you're a virgin and I'll fit one way or another.
Well, that's just the way it goes down because, Nintendo doesn't go for, shocks and thrills. They go for impregnation. They need long time.
And they impregnated all of us.
Oh, indeed they did. They also announced Pokemon Art Academy for the Nintendo 3DS. Not really my speed. I'm not artfully inclined. We got some fabulous people in the Hater Nation who are very artfully inclined, and we
also have a certain motherfucker here on the podcast that's very, very good at drawing.
He's too cool for that, though.
Too cool for school.
He's too cool for school. He's too hard for the yard. He's bursting on his nails.
I've never fucked around with the art stuff with Nintendo, so I don't know. I've never really messed around with. I never messed around with Mario Paint or anything like that.
You haven't?
Never. I never got to fuck around.
For shame.
Yeah,
dude. Honestly, the best thing on Mario Paint is that fucking music creation program.
It's great, but I'm the poor motherfucker that decided that let me play this with the D-pad. I'm gonna kill everybody.
I did mess around with and did learn how to type by playing Mario Teaches Typing.
That's a good one. It's not really that great, but
See, that's really cool, but I didn't get a computer until like high school, so yeah. I didn't have that shit. The only thing I was typing on was like Speak and Spell, and that was from a thrift store. So.
Or I'm sorry, Mario Teaches Typing.
Ooh, racism simulator, awesome.
Yes.
Even more on the Wii U, Mario Party 10 coming, and I know some people are not really into that, but
that shit needs to stop. I don't give a fuck. It needs to stop. 10 goddamn Mario parties. You know what? It hasn't changed since 3.
No, it really hasn't. But apparently, people are buying them. And
dude, in the age of DLC, you're telling me those like the last 7 Mario parties couldn't have been DLC? Really?
I'm not telling you it couldn't. I'm just saying it isn't. I'm not here to speculate. I'm just here to report. But
gotcha. You're not Michael Pachter. Gotcha.
No. I never get sold, but that's another story for another time. Also coming to the Wii U, the two of the 3 mystery projects that Mr. Shigeru Miyamoto has been working on. And I said something on the Facebook earlier about this because he was late for his interview with Treehouse Nintendo, and I said, well, Shigeru Miyamoto moves slow because he doesn't have to move for anybody. So that's why it went down the way it went down. But he talked about 2 games that's really grabbed me and I thought were interesting, and both apparently take place in the Star Fox universe. One being Project Giant Robot, which at first looked strange, only initially. And to me, when I took a second to look at all of it, it looks like a cross between Custom Robo, Teleroboxer from the Virtual Boy, and the rules are very similar to sumo wrestling. And I thought, how goddamn Japanese can you get?
I know. It kind of reminded me of like a robotic alchemic drive a little.
I'll go along with that, except, the robots look a little clunkier because they need charm.
Yeah.
And it was just like, wow. I mean, because I'd always wonder why there was never a sumo wrestling game. Because, well, it wouldn't last very long. But this just seemed like finally somebody's got a take on that. And then the other one working on that's also apparently in the Star Fox universe, Project Guard, which is a sort of first-person tower defense game. It's really neat. And if for those who did or did not see the footage covering Project Guard, there was a lot of Star Fox hints in it, and also for some reason, Rob the Robot from the NES is in there.
I noticed that too. I was like, "Is that really Rob?" I'll be
And
damned.
we haven't seen him since Mario Kart DS. So,
yeah, it's been a while.
So it's nice that he's alive and well.
Now, here's a question. So, with the new Star Fox, are both of the things that you mentioned just going to be kind of like gameplay mechanic type features inside of the new Star Fox?
As far as I know, they are all standalone experiences. But they are well, for instance, Steel Diver Subwars, which came out not too long ago, does take place in the seas of Corneria, or at least it's suggested as such.
Yeah, somebody at Microsoft, sorry. Far more competent than Microsoft at this press conference. Somebody at Nintendo must have had a come to Jesus moment with Star Fox, because they went from ignoring this franchise to announcing 3 games in its universe.
And now, whoa. Yeah, it's quite fantastic. So never lose hope. And what I'm excited about is it appears that different things are taking place, because really, topping Star Fox 64 was going to be troublesome for anybody, and I think they've decided not to take it head on, but to expand, because it's if the games have taught us anything, that's a big universe that you can explore and play with. And they're doing it, and I think that's fantastic.
Well, the nice thing about Star Fox is, since it's set in space, it's an unlimited universe.
And you want to talk about a series? You want to talk about a series that could use an HD re-release like collection? Star Fox.
Absolutely.
Because so many people have not played Command. So many people have not played. It would be great to have Star Fox 2 be released.
Yeah, I was going to say, if they have it still.
Yep.
If they officially made that just as like one of the bonus things in it that you can unlock or some shit, like actually unlock stuff nowadays instead of buying it, I would be like, wow, that's worth it by itself. You now have a physical version of Star Fox 2. Might not be in cartridge form, but you still have it.
I'm amazed that game never made it to the eShop. That's what I can't believe.
It makes no fucking sense, but there's so many things I just wonder, like...
Well, but also, I guess they didn't like it, so what are you going to do?
The thing is, I played it, and it's great.
Well, as have I. As have I.
Oh, Star Fox 2 is fantastic. It's weird. Apparently, it had nothing to do with the game being bad, because it's not bad. I love that game.
No, but I think it was just too late in the Super NES lifespan.
It was, yeah. They were looking to push the N64, and it didn't fit into their plans, basically.
I personally think they should have fucking thrown it out there, because while they took a lot of stuff from Star Fox 2, put it into Star Fox 64, Star Fox 2 is still very much its own game.
Very much so. And it helps if you played Star Fox Command before Star Fox 2. Because if you go directly from Star Fox to Star Fox 2, you're like, what the fuck happened?
I know. It's so weird. It's bizarre.
But then again, going from the first one to the second one, that's not the first time that's happened. So...
And hell, it would just be nice to get a nice HD reskin of Assault, and we can all pretend that Adventures didn't happen. And...
Well, no, if they put a Zelda skin over it, it would totally make sense.
Nah, it was a pretty good game. I actually enjoyed that game.
No, it was. It's just not a Star Fox game, but people can bitch and complain about it, and that's their fucking problem. But and with all this love going on for the Wii U, there's some stuff coming to the 3DS. And I don't think we've heard all about it, because as far as I understand, as of this recording, there was news that we haven't even gotten yet. So, Nintendo continuing to swing at E3. Finally coming to the U.S. shores, Professor Layton versus Ace Attorney.
Yeah, what is that?
I've been waiting for that shit
since it was announced.
Which was eons ago.
Like 2011, I think.
Yeah, it was dude. I still have the fucking video up for when it was announced, and I think it was like at least 2 years ago.
I want to say it was part of the Japanese launch lineup, or supposed to be within the launch window, and we're just now getting it, and it looks really cool.
Oh, there's actually...
I hate to say good things about Capcom, but it looks really cool.
Well, there's the we're also getting a Phoenix Wright collection.
I saw that. That's very interesting.
The downside is I don't think we're getting a physical version of it, so I just remain sad.
I mean, Capcom's poor. I mean, at this E3 they announced Virtual Console title, so that kind of shows how well the bank account's doing. And one that seem to fly under a few radars. Very important to me. Gunman Clive 2, which if you didn't play Gunman Clive, it's Mega Man in the Old West.
That's pretty badass.
Oh wait, isn't that the game you did the Let's Play of?
No, I've done a lot of Let's Plays. They call White Plays over in my house. But I was gonna call it my show, but whatever. There you threw me off, goddammit, but
Sorry.
look into it though. Gunman Clive 2. It's essentially Mega Man in the Old West, and a lot of people, so far, no one's really said anything about it. And mind you, it was just talked about this morning. But
it's kind of hard to focus though after a while because we get so much stuff thrown at us. Just like look at how much that we focused on Nintendo and how many games that they've put out, and we're talking like AAA games.
And they're not even. We didn't even mention all of them.
No,
Yeah,
and they're not done yet.
I mean, it really is like it was such a lopsided E3 this year. It was like two completely middling conferences that were just kind of there, and then shots fired. Like holy fuck!
Don't forget those sandwiched on the outside of two total virtual non-events.
Yeah, a little software. I mean, this year really brought into sharp focus, like I said, the fact that Ubisoft and EA and Activision and all these companies don't need to be having fucking press conferences at E3. They just don't.
Absolutely. So what we've learned is that that's basically what took place, and Nintendo came out swinging when they didn't even have to, and they still are. Which brings us to the end of our E3 damage report, and it's time for the hate-bit verdict.
Yep.
This E3 was rife with complication, not necessarily on the technical side of things, because, well, you have to have things to show before you can have technical problems. That's always important to note. I wrote down a few notes, and this is some observations I've made, and I hope they're poignant. And then, guys, if you guys will fill in your observations. But here's what I've noticed, at least in my paying attention the last couple of days. Number one, layoffs, which we've heard a lot about, equal no one to make your games. Why are there no games? Because there's nobody in this fucking industry anymore. These corporations bought up these companies, liquidated them, and now to get their money back, and now there's no one to make these games, and they have no one to make games for their machines. I've noticed that games are taking far too long to make, because what I saw a lot throughout, and I didn't talk about this, I wanted to leave it till the end, was a whole bunch of segments, but essentially wrestling promos, of middle-aged men sipping coffee telling you that they may or may not be working on a video game that may or may not be out for Christmas 2015.
It really came into sharp focus during the Sony conference.
Absolutely. Another thing that happened is Microsoft did another 180, which was not really that, hard to see coming. Essentially told all the 360 owners to fuck themselves because there were no game, nothing. They mentioned nothing for the Xbox 360, at least that I'm aware of. Even though last year, a total about face from last year, which was a whole bunch of, we're going to continue to support all our markets because things.
Am I crazy, or is that, to me, that was Microsoft proving unequivocally that they're out of touch? That they don't understand why the Xbox One hasn't taken off.
And they don't understand why the Xbox 360 took off in the first place. Because
it's like they're blaming the last system being too popular for their current system not taking off. And that has never, ever, ever been the case. Sony tried to blame the PS2's popularity on the PS3. How did that work out for them? Well, it didn't work. It wasn't until they realized, oh, wait a minute, people aren't buying the PS3 because we don't have any games. Maybe we should make some of those. That was when the PS3's fortunes started to turn around.
Well, and also don't forget the public relations perception, because that's also been Nintendo's downfall. Everyone comparing the Wii U to the Wii. The Wii was a flash in the pan. That's never going to happen again.
Yeah.
That should have never happened in the first place, but Good Morning America came out full swing, and that's how that went.
That was the Oprah Good Morning America Tonight Show effect.
Exactly, and well, they tried it again, it didn't work. But what else?
Yeah, but they had to try it again with Jimmy Fallon, so what are you going to do?
You're making me sick. Stop it. Anyway, another observation I made, see, last year, right after E3, a bunch of folks, a bunch of nice kids, they all said, well, what do you expect for next year? I said, I just hope for less shitty shooter games. That's all I hope for. And what I got was just less games.
Yeah.
It's like I don't think they were really listening in that. And another thing that I've learned, and as we talked about earlier in the show, about how the PS4 and the Xbox One may have been rushed to market. They said the same thing about the Wii U, but I think the Wii U did what Nintendo really expected it to do. It scared everybody.
Yeah.
And it got everybody uneasy, and that's what led us to the last couple of days.
That's what led us to probably the premature launches of the Xbox One and PS4.
Sure.
Because they were like, oh, the Wii U's already on market. We should probably be making systems. And so, of course, the next year we had PS4 and Xbox One in stores. And I think that threw everyone off. And if you need any proof of the fact that they were thrown off and didn't plan their software lineups as a result, look at this E3. They announced a bunch of multi-platform games and a bunch of games that aren't coming out for a year at least.
Well, exactly. We had, let me see here, 6 to 7 hours worth of conferences with about, 150 minutes of content?
Yeah, totally.
It's insane. Now, Razorfist, lay on the verdict for me. Tell the people how you feel about this past mess.
The verdict is, flat out, I think it was one of the most lopsided conferences in history. You had two companies release no information, a bunch of games that are going to come out in holiday 2015. I will go on record. I think Sony had the worst conference. I would have renamed their entire press conference Holiday 2015. I wouldn't have even cut out the fucking middleman as far as I'm concerned. So, and then I thought Microsoft had just kind of a meh conference that was just sort of lied there. They had a couple announcements that were like, okay, but those games probably aren't coming out for another year, so what's the point? And then, holy fuck, I had a sneaking premonition Nintendo were going to pull it out this year, and did they ever? This was one of their best press conferences
And it wasn't even a press conference.
I know, it wasn't. It was a Nintendo Direct, and they just demolished Microsoft and Sony at this. They killed it. They did. The only thing they had to do was announce one big exclusive. They announced 5, and they just kept going. And
they're all coming out before Christmas.
They're all coming out before Christmas. A few of these games are coming out in 2015.
Okay, a few.
But most of them are this holiday season, which is, man, Wii U is. If I didn't see a big turnaround in Nintendo here, I wouldn't know what was going to do it for the Wii U, because they've got all the games coming out right now. And with the momentum, the big thing is this is really well timed, because you've already got the momentum from Mario Kart 8, which is blowing up the sales charts right now. Nintendo suddenly has life again, and now you come out with this E3. It's just, they knocked it out of the park as far as I'm concerned. So, hands down, the winner this E3 was Nintendo, if there is a winner in this entire mess.
Well, no one really wins anything until there's sales figures to back it up. But they kissed our ass, and we want to help them out.
Yeah, they could have just walked on stage and said Star Fox, and I would have been on board.
I know you would have.
But Jesus fucking Christ, did they come out with the games.
Absolutely. Admiral Omegason, you've been sitting back there astoundingly quiet. Lay it on us. Give us the 8-bit verdict. How did you feel about this E3?
This E3, I kept on coming across people that were just like, this E3 sucked, and everything was terrible, and blah, blah, blah. I found something good with each press conference, and that's really the truth, despite the fact that, I thought that Sony and Microsoft should have done better because they needed to. Their systems have come out, and they've done very well, hardware-wise. Just give me games. I wasn't really getting that, and I wanted exclusives. I wasn't getting enough of that or the top-tier ultra quality of it, and that might sound demanding, but the fact is that you're at a big show being presented in front of millions of people. You have to impress.
Yep.
And, all the multi-plats and stuff, there was just a lot of wasted time. It just seemed redundant. I thought both of them just did below average. That's really about it. Then Nintendo, pretty much served them their own asses. And here, I'll backtrack that. Nintendo held their own fucking show, ignoring their existence.
Yes, that's why it was so effective.
Yeah, it was if you watch how the Nintendo conference and all the shit that they were doing went down, and you watch Sony and Microsoft mirrored one another Nintendo seemed like they were off gallivanting in their own fucking world. And it was effective. It worked very well because they were showing off tons of games that we were aware of and new games we weren't aware of. AAA games that we really wanted, and many things coming out this year we'll be able to get our hands on. New features, new games, new franchise, new everything. And that's what the fuck you're supposed to do at an event like this. Nintendo stomped shit, needed to, because the fact is that last year they did dick all. And
I think they did okay last year.
Compared to Sony and Microsoft, they were literally like forgotten. And that was the thing. Like, they needed to stir shit up with games. They did that. And they did it so much so that they won over everything in every single regard. So yeah, Nintendo by miles. Like, there is no fucking question who takes the crown this year.
Yeah, it was amazing. You really, that was exactly what I was thinking and couldn't articulate. So Nintendo just, it was kind of like when two people are just picking on each other, fucking with each other back and forth, and then somebody else, or like in a race or something, when two people are so concentrated on each other, on beating each other, that they don't pay attention to somebody else who's just blowing by their ass. That was what this E3 was like. It was like Sony and Microsoft were just like, neener, 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 neener. We've got this exclusive and that exclusive, and, we're going to have this timed exclusive and this timed beta exclusive.
Timed disc lock content.
It was just like, they were having a slap fight, and Nintendo came out and dropped a nuke.
Well, yeah, that's the thing, is that this console generation is just like the last one, where you have two systems that are very identical in their approach and what they offer and how you use it, and then you have Nintendo. And Nintendo is doing their own thing, and the thing is that can work for and against them, but they right now are offering you the most shit. Sure. And that's what you want as a gamer. You want to have like the most options, the most games and stuff like that. Am I going to get Arkham Knight on my Wii U? No, I'm not going to. That's very fucking unfortunate. But guess what? I have a PlayStation 4 and a high-end PC. So guess the fuck what? I have the best of both worlds, and that's kind of what everybody should be doing. And eventually, I'll have an Xbox One and be able to play everything. But yeah, Nintendo's just doing their own thing, and I'm fucking happy for it because they're the unique ones.
And that's exactly right. They weren't going to compete on, and I think that's what the launch of the Wii showed, or the Wii U rather, showed. They tried to compete with Xbox 360 and PS3 on their own terms with the launch of that system. Oh, look, here's a port of Arkham City. Here's a port of Deus Ex Human Revolution. See, we have the third parties. And I think they kind of put the cart before the horse. You got to put the first parties out there first and be yourself. And then that's going to draw in the third parties to get them to be on your console.
Oh, but with Nintendo, it's important to do that too.
Yeah, and I think that's what they did at this year's E3. I think by establishing that they're going to have the first parties, I think next year, if they're smart, they can focus on third parties a little bit more.
But the big problem is, are the third parties going to have people to make fucking games to put on the Wii U?
If those sales numbers creep up, and you have to remember, Wii U is still in second place. They're not in third.
No. They're a strong second, and also we haven't gotten back the Mario Kart 8 data because there was an explosion in hardware sales.
Yeah, I would not be surprised to see those numbers jump up a lot after that and leave Xbox One in the dust.
I would not be surprised if when we get into July, we'll see that Wii U retook the lead.
Well, that's the thing that they need to do is Nintendo has to be Nintendo. Just put out all the shit that everybody has been wanting, and then toss out those surprises that you didn't see coming. And that's what they were doing this year. And the fact that we're actually getting the stuff soon, like this year, I know that may not seem very soon, but by comparison to
It'll be here before you know it.
Microsoft, we're not dealing with everything is pretty much a 2015 situation.
Yeah.
And that's actually what was important to me. I'm like, wow, I can actually get the games this year? Sweet.
Well, it's interesting the way the whole journalism thing, the way the games journalism sect has reported this. this is kind of, like Razorfist said, it kind of brought everything into crystal clear view. And, all the cool kids at Microsoft and EA and Ubisoft said, fuck you, we're not going to play with you. You're not going to play by our rules? Fine, we're not going to play with you. And Nintendo said, all right, fuck you then. Here's what we got.
Well, I mean, if I was Nintendo, and I'll say this to my dying day, if I was Nintendo, I would scoop up all the talented studios that struggle but put out really badass games. I put them under my leadership with my fucking bankroll, and I'm going to clean up shop.
It seems to be what they're doing.
Well, it's the most sensible thing to do. Nintendo has so many franchises, intellectual properties, and individual games that they need to put out, and they just need the manpower to put this out at a constant, absurd rate. That you can't even deny the fact that you need to pick up their system, because look at all this shit. I mean, they got Devil's Third exclusive to them now, and that game is so over the top and gory. I would love them to just buy the IP for fucking... Just pick it up, boom, yours.
The one thing that I didn't see that I thought that would really put them over the top was the price cut, but I think we'll probably see that by E3 of next year, so they're kind of in a good position anyways. If the sales are already jumping up with Mario Kart 8, imagine how much they're going to jump up with all the additional first-party games that are going to be coming out. And then next year, you're in a much better position to feel more comfortable to drop the price, and then your sales numbers are going to jump up even more. Mm-hmm. So they're in a very comfortable position, actually. I think a lot of people counted Nintendo out before they should have.
Well, I mean, what's good? They look good.
Dude, this is the song and dance that we've been seeing since Nintendo 64, though.
Yep.
And everybody's just I still remember reading stuff on IGN64.com.
Oh, man.
Before they were just IGN. On IGN64.com, that people were talking about the death rattle of Nintendo because of the PlayStation juggernaut taking up, the gaming world. And,
Which is hilarious, because if there was ever a console generation that was more, less definitive in terms of one system winning or another, it was that one. That console generation was so ambiguous as to who won, because Nintendo 64 ostensibly sold fewer consoles, but when they came out with a first party exclusive, it outsold anything on PlayStation.
Oh yeah, I mean by leaps and bounds. If you look at anything that Rare made, or anything that Nintendo slapped their name on, it didn't even have to be super great. I mean, it was a guaranteed million seller. Guaranteed.
Yeah, it was not like a PS2 situation where it was like PS2 and everyone else. But with N64, they legitimately held their own. So that was kind of an ambiguous console generation.
Well, that was also the generation where the same things were also being said about the goddamn Sega Saturn, so I don't want to hear any of that speculation either.
Oh, the poor Sega Saturn.
The Sega Saturn was only fucked here in America, and that's because Sega of America was fucking dumb.
That's true, but we can leave that for another show. We really can. But anyway, folks, it's time for us to get out of here. We really thank you for tuning in. If you didn't know already, if you haven't been to the show, I am the mighty Yell Chaos. Joining me as always was the astounding Alpha Omega Sin.
Good night, sweetheart. Well, it's time to go.
And the guy with the eyeliner and the fist of iron, Mr. Razorfist.
God fucking speed, folks. It was a very, very eventful E3. At least it was on the second day.
We'd like to thank each and every one of you for joining us here on the third annual E3 Damage Report. We hope you tune with us next time and next year. I want to remind you that you're listening to the definitive video game podcast on planet Earth. You guys have been great, and we have been the Hate Bit Podcast. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Podcast.